Hello, welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. The Jason Cavness Experience is brought to you by Cavness HR. At Cavness HR, we provide HR to companies with 49 or fewer people. Our guest today is Ken Morimoto. Ken, thanks for being here.
Yeah, wonderful to be here, Jason. Good to see you again.
Yes, so we're going to start right up into it, right? So I don't know your age or your generation, but I'm in my 50s, Generation X. And I went from Pong, which back in the day was like the most amazing thing ever,
Uh-huh.
to now all the AI stuff going on, right? In like 50 years, right? And I don't think people realize the technological advances that humans have done those 50 years. And my thing is like, I think what we did in those 50 years, we're probably going to do in the next 5 or 10 years, right? Can you
Yes.
just comment on that? Like, let's go with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in an exponential curve that's been accelerated. Um, Thanks to NVIDIA, thanks to compute, thanks to data. I mean, I ever since I've been following this crazy trajectory, um, the simulation theory is quite a valid theory in my opinion. Um, but yeah, it's accelerating rapidly, driven by the power of compute, data centers. And so, we're going to see just incredible exponential quantum leap uh, progress in technology, which is extremely scary, but for me, quite exciting. So we're talking about not knowing what's real and what's actually synthetic or created by AI. Um, when you watch videos or when you watch any type of content, it's going to be quite. We live in interesting times.
And in me, talking about the multiverse theory, what do you want? Simulation theory. It's amazing how many, like, what we call like smart people, like, I like really believe this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I listened to Joe Rogan podcast earlier today. This guy here, I don't even know this guy or not.
No,
Okay. So he was like he sold his company like a lot of money. He's like really big in the
I mean,
simulation
there's a
theory,
lot
right?
of guys I believe in. I mean,
I mean, it's to me that's just to
Elon,
me that's amazing.
Sergey,
Yeah.
Peter Diamandis. I mean, a lot of great computer scientists and AI people. I mean, it's a theory. I mean, it's hard to prove.
That's kind of hard not to prove
But
it either, right?
yeah, I actually went down a rabbit hole of just like understanding um, the nature of reality and everything from evolution to simulation. And I even grew up pretty religious growing up. So I was at a point one time I was quite religious when I was younger. But I mean, they're all valid, interesting theories. At the end of the day, I've actually stopped really spending too much time on it because it's sort of a, a theory you can't prove really.
It's a fun rabbit hole
But
to
it's
go down
fun.
though.
It's fun. I
Yeah.
mean, just a uh, fun things to really think about on long walks and
And my thing is, it's like whoever fucking playing me, like fucking step your fucking game up, right? Like,
yeah,
like go get some cheat codes or something, right?
yeah. It's yeah. That's like the theory of NPC and I mean, I think in when right now, I mean, there's autonomous agents, right? So one can argue that somebody's really not controlling. So it's a combination of you know um reinforcement learning and non-reinforcement learning and just uh yeah, as autonomous agent, you're literally basically playing out many different scenarios
Yeah.
and so
I mean,
yeah,
just
it's
I mean, just like when you came here, right? You decided, what if you would have left 2 minutes early? What if instead of going like 45 miles an hour, you go 40 miles an hour, right? And all these decision points, of course, some are minor, some are major. I think, like,
yeah. So I think about that too. I mean, I went down a rabbit hole regarding free will and determination, determinization, and so if we have a supercomputer, one can argue that you know from the a lot of physicists, a lot of uh, talented scientists argue that we live in a very deterministic world, meaning that literally from the Big Bang, everything is pretty much predetermined from the law of physics. So with enough compute and supercomputer, you can actually know what I'm going to do. But free will is illusion in that way that you think that you made these choices, but did we really, right? So I've gone down a rabbit hole uh, as well. So
yeah,
we can nerd out about that as
oh yeah,
well.
oh yeah, definitely. Something to nerd out. And like,
Yeah.
like like growing up religious, like all the Christianity, Jewish, or whatever religion, they say like a God created us, right? It's like this like omniscient, loving God created us. I don't know, right? Because like all these, there's these always different stories, right? These fables, so called, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know if I believe that. But then again, like I refuse to believe like two atoms just bang together and create everything, right? Like neither one kind of makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, they're all pretty, you know, if it's hard to put my to really, have conviction for. If I really deeply think about it, it's quite
I mean, it has to be a one in quadrillion trillion chance of two atoms that's randomly in the middle of nowhere collecting together and all this stuff creates, right?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, with enough time and
Yeah, yeah.
without chaos, I mean, a lot of interesting things can happen. I'm not a domain expert in that, but I mean, just to make it clear, I mean, I don't know. I mean, these are theories I like to entertain. I mean, you know, I I I like to follow the science as much as possible, and um, I don't know. Sometimes I entertain simulation. I entertain, other interesting theories, just as entertainment.
Yeah. So back to the tech in the last 50 years, right? Do you think we'll be able to like surpass that amount of tech in the next 5 years, 10 years? What's the call like when I think tech advances every 2 years or doubles?
That's Moore's law,
That's at Moore's
right?
law. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real thing, right?
I mean, it still is. I mean, right now with I think Moore's law is like the number of transistors double, and so compute, every 2 years, so or 18 months. So um, the speed of compute increases by double, and also decreases the cost by like significantly. And so given all the cloud infrastructure from AWS, Azure, and NVIDIA chips, I mean, with all the parallel computing that's happening, I mean, it's definitely Moore's law is still live and true. In fact, I went to the Jensen Huang's opening in San Jose's at the NVIDIA GTC, and he spoke about that. NVIDIA actually accelerated Moore's law exponentially, through their GPU. So, he had a really compelling slide that, in fact, Moore's law has been accelerated through NVIDIA GPU innovation, which is, again, AI is just simply computation and data. So when you have a lot of computation, and one thing interesting that Sam Altman said is that the biggest bottleneck is actually energy potentially, right? Because, energy still is a key driver to compute, right? To keep the servers and everything humming. So I think Moore's law is going to be hindered by, constraints of potential energy, given all the, massive demands that, the AI model requires. Um,
So in my mind, I don't think the average American or average human realizes how fast technology is advancing and what the future holds, right?
mhm.
Is there anything that can be done, like kind of like educate them, like, hey, you might want to pay attention to this. This is going to change your life. AI is coming. Like all that kind of stuff, or just
Yeah, I think Jensen said something really compelling, that AI is not going to take your job, but the person that knows how to use AI, right? It's a tool, will take your job. So I think it's extremely important for people to level up, and understand what these tools can potentially help, right, in your profession, and be able to leverage, right? So can imagine, like, you don't have access to a computer or a calculator, and you're doing everything by hand or memory. I mean, you're going to be completely disadvantaged not knowing how to use the tool. So leveraging AI um, tools is going to be extremely important for anybody, and trying to ensure that they can be competitive in this job market.
that's a good point. Like, how do we keep and maybe it's just a free market that takes care of itself, right? Capitalism, whatever. But how do we keep the haves can become even more greater haves and the have nots become even greater have nots? Because haves going to have access to
Yeah.
all this stuff. I mean, example I use, like even if you're like economic disadvantage in Seattle, you have access to everything, right? Versus you live in a farm and, small town Arkansas on a farm with 25 people, you might have access to everything. Of course, there's Zoom and stuff like that, but it's still not the same, I think, right? How do you keep that? You're just like, okay, that's a free market.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be, a huge, I mean, it's happening now, right? There's a huge discrepancy between people, even wealth, right? Given, driven by technological like understanding and having a STEM background. Um, and so you see that now, right? People who are well versed and have access to computers and internet access, and um, they can, they're definitely, you know and people who have not, right? I mean, it's going to be a huge, I think, challenge moving forward, right? For the world.
So kind of off subject, but kind of on. So on Thursday, was it Thursday? Thursday, I went to this a networking event called New Tech Northwest, run by Brett Green, right?
Hmm.
So it's like do it every month, like two people do 10-minute pitch, right? And part of the thing he does, like there's 75 people there. He'll say, if you're looking for a job, stand up, say your name. We're looking for, right? Like 75 people there. I'm spitballing. Maybe 35 people stood up. 33 were software developers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then who's hiring? No one stood up, right? I mean, what do you, I know there's rumors out there if you're a software developer, you're like AI is going to do your job, like basic coding. So what's your advice to software developers starting out? Should like all in on AI and Python, or there's still like places for them like build websites and do like where we can still like basic junior developer skills?
Yeah. Actually, I had this conversation with a friend uh who's an AI scientist. I mean, the biggest disruption that's happening, you know, uh where AI is disrupting is actually the developer job market. And I think I read this crazy statistic that I think 40% of Indian computer science grads are having a hard time finding a job. And before, right? I mean, all your parents are telling you like, become a doctor, become a developer, because you're going to be, comfortable and set, and you'll find a nice wife or husband, and all that's been completely like turned upside down. And I talk with a lot of my brilliant founders or developers, and a good programmer can, leveraging Copilot can do 10x of, in terms of speed and performance. And so and the key is like you have to still be a domain expert. And so, if a good programmer can do 10x, like you're not going to need a junior or somebody who's pretty inexperienced, right? So, and the AI is just even getting better. So I think, I mean, again, it's, who would have thought that AI would disrupt, the people who have a computer science degree? Like I would never thought that. I thought it would be like, drivers and like warehouse workers, and but no, it's actually, you know, making a major uh, impact in the job market for developers.
Yeah. So
Super.
so with the 10 times results, right? Suppose there's a non-tech founder out there, right? And they're looking to hire developers. Is there any way they can figure out, suppose there's like two people they're interviewing, right? Is there a way for a non-tech founder to figure out which one is like 10 times person versus like this average coder?
Yeah, these guys can. I'm not a developer, and I'm not, very technical, but my, my friends who are, very talented developers. I mean, it's like playing tennis, right? You can hit some tennis balls and you can see how they hit it back, and because they have that domain expertise, they have that talent, so they know, they can recognize if you have that, that ability. Um, and so yeah, a lot of these developers, I was actually even talking to a very a CEO who hires uh developers mostly out of like IIT, which is one of the top schools in India. And he looks for what he told me was he looks for people with actually very high academic, performance. He said that's been a really good signal, um, as well as his other methods of interviewing. But yeah, people who are good programmers can know and be able to curate the
So,
talent.
so either the fear or the hope is like AI is going to take, make some like take some jobs, right? Jobs that people don't want to do, like, like taking agriculture, maybe cleaning
Hmm.
bathrooms. But is there a job we don't want AI to do? Like, do we want AI like being the TSA security person at the airport? You want AI robots like doing heart surgery? Is there any jobs like you're like, man, I don't know about this right here. We still need humans to do this.
I mean, honestly, I think that AI will be able to do better than most people in certain functions on almost any task, right? I mean, not right now, like, for surgery, things like that, but the models, they're getting better, right? I mean, with access to almost unlimited compute, you know, I believe that AI is going to be better than, and a lot of people say this. Elon says this. Sam Altman, a lot of the smartest people in this space. Obviously they might be biased, right? But I can't think of any use case where AI cannot, in a very narrow function, cannot outperform humans.
So
That's kind of scary to
yeah,
think
I
about.
asked them on the podcast one time. I asked them like, if you had to pick, suppose you had to have open heart surgery on yourself, right? You pick like a human doctor or AI. Like, man, I'm picking the human doctor, right?
Yeah, for now. I mean,
But then I said, okay, let's just switch it up.
mhm.
What if you found out the human doctor finished last in his class and has 2 or 3 malpractice lawsuits coming? You're like,
I would
I
actually,
might go AI now.
no, I would actually take the best is human and the AI. It's the human AI collaboration, right? It's like AI is just a tool, right? But you still need that human judgment to make sure that there's some edge cases that they don't that they haven't seen before. So the best doctors will be the doctors who are good or whatever, but they leverage technology to make their to solve their specific mission problem. So um and that's yeah, I think that's how great AI works right now is just like Copilot, right? You still need a human to sort of make sure that you can do a quick QA check. I use AI for writing, and they help me with the cold start, and then I go through and edit and clean it up, and it makes me 2 3 times faster, right? So it's a combination is I think. But again, it depends on the use case, right? So AI is like saying the internet, like it's a buzzword, people throw it around. But it's like what's the use case? Like what's the application of that technology, right? So and then we can sort of maybe dive deeper.
Do you think there's any limit on what AI can do, or whatever humans can code, or what do you do with AI? Do you think it's limitless, or is that a limit to it?
I mean, I don't have the the deep science and physics background. I mean, if you look at history, we've constantly been pushing the envelope in terms of progress, uh, compute, innovation. I mean, I don't know. I mean, right now as we stand, if you look at the exponential curve that Ray Kurzweil and Jensen Huang, shows in terms of the uh, the compute exponential growth. I mean, again, with enough compute and power, there's a lot of breakthroughs that can happen. So I think the only constraint again would be potentially energy, right? If you don't have enough energy to run compute, then you're gonna run into a potential wall for the potential of AI.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So whose problem is this to solve or to fix, right? I'm making this up, right? Like, suppose, I mean, we pick any industry like janitors or truck drivers, and suppose like I think there's 250,000 truck drivers in the
Hmm.
United States, and suppose like on January 1st, they all get laid off and put AI robots in there. Like, who's studying the problem, trying to solve the problem? Like, there's 250,000 people being unemployed, right? Is anyone like studying like? And I think the government's too slow to solve the problem, right? Because the government's so far behind, right?
Hmm.
And I don't know if the tech company should do it because that'd be kind of biased, I guess. But like, who's like trying to solve the problem? Okay, when the robots come, robot AI comes, these jobs are like the people are replaced. Like, are we doing a universal basic income, or like find different jobs, or like, are we is a truck driver going to be no longer a truck driver, but he's gonna like learn how to do the AI and behind, right?
Yeah.
Like, whose responsibility is that? Do you think?
So I worked on a lot of self-driving cars when I was at Scale AI, right? Like a lot of the lighter projects, man, expectation, for all the top ones, right? Waymo, Zoox, um, Tesla. I think we're so far off from massive adoption of self-driving cars. I know we're seeing some stuff at Waymo and Zoox and out there. I think the biggest constraint or challenge for massive adoption is actually government regulation. Um, I saw a great Lex Friedman podcast on this with I think the CEO founder of iRobot. And so just imagine that self-driving AI cars are 10 times, statistically are 10 times safer. But, you get in one car accident and it kills some, person. The regulators, the conservatives, or I mean, there's just people who are maybe anti-tech, they're gonna, there's gonna be a lot of uh, regulation saying, we're not going to trust these evil machines. I mean, there's going to be a lot of propaganda around that. So the bar that AI has to actually achieve, massive adoption for self-driving is significantly, I mean, it has to be like 99.9999%. Like, look what happened at not Cruise, right? Like, they had that one incident where they dragged some poor lady under, and they basically were shut down. And that was like an edge case that, AI models are going to have a hard time really, you know, identifying. So I think we're still far away from
So you see it far away,
self-driving
you mean like
jobs.
10 years, 15 years, 2 or 3 years?
Um,
I mean, I know you can't give
I
a
don't
precise
know.
answer.
I don't know. I still think. I mean, I initially thought this would be happen now, right? Being involved
Of
in
course,
lidar projects, and
yeah,
look at the billions and billions of dollars investment from all the self-driving cars. It's insane. It was like
yeah.
almost a massive bubble because the ROI has not materialized from the investments. And even Tesla, like recently, they Elon, he's first doing lidar, then radar, and now he's basically threw out, all his different methodologies, and leveraging these 5 million drivers to collect data. He has a different using open source models, and it's from what I understand. I haven't read into all the literature, but I still think we're actually safe there. But initially, that was a huge concern, right? Because, like I said, statistically, there are millions of people who make who make a living off of driving, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's long haul or taxi Uber, but I think we're so far off. But I could be wrong. I mean, what I know, right?
What's that thing called? As a term for like, like a new tech comes out, you have your early adopters, then
Hmm.
people, so and there's like certain percent that no matter what they do, like even this 2024, they're still riding horses. They haven't adopted cars yet. The
Yeah, the
lag is
Amish.
right. Yeah, the Amish, yeah, the lag. Like
Hmm.
what's that thing called? I can't remember the name of it.
The what?
The name for that, like the early adopters. The
I think it's early adopters.
is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
the more, I mean, the crossing the chasm.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, that's a long.
Because like I think 33% are like were never like a high percentage would never adopt it until like the very last moment, whatever.
Yeah, that's the technological, like, they say the nerds adopt it first, and then it sort of propagates to, the fatter tail and long tail.
Yeah. So we're gonna come back to this in a minute, change subjects. Like, what what are some of your hobbies? What do you do for fun?
So, I mean, most of my hobby is just, my mission is mental and physical transformation and wisdom acquisition and building MVP to over 1 billion AUM. So I'm either working out, martial arts, uh, reading listening to a ton of podcasts on regarding technology, reading a lot of books. Um, I throw like a lot of happy hours, so I am pretty social. But most of my free time is either physical activity, going to the gym, doing martial arts, or listening to a lot of, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I walk at least 10K steps a day with my dog. Like, I have so much podcasts that,
Yeah, I remember one time I hung out with you one time, and it was you, I think, Greg, I think, and we're like, and you're like, let's go to this other bar. I said we're gonna catch you, but no, it's just around the corner, like 20,000 miles later.
yeah,
Like, goddamn, Ken,
yeah,
what the fuck you doing to me?
yeah. I think my average step count is like 12,000, and
Yeah,
that's in addition to like going to the gym
yeah.
at
You definitely look more
yeah.
fit since the last time I seen you.
Yeah, and a
Yeah,
lot of it was actually cut down alcohol
yeah,
significantly. So that's what
yeah. You definitely look more
yeah.
fit. Um, so what's something that you want to learn that you don't know yet?
Oh man. Um, I want to learn a lot of things. I mean, I've always actually wanted to learn how to code, and I remember just taking a few classes. But I think that's not a high priority right now. I think right now what my goal is, level up in the martial arts stuff I'm doing. So I want to learn more skills in that area.
How long have you been doing martial arts?
Just recently, like January.
Okay.
So
And is it like you're doing like Brazilian
it's like
jiu-jitsu?
Krav Maga. It's like a
Okay.
combination of
Okay.
box.
And you doing this every day or
Yeah,
once a week?
5 days a week.
Okay.
I went this morning.
Okay. Nice. So talk about this. Like, what was the job you had a job in the past, right? You're doing this job, and you're like, you know what? I'm pretty fucking good at this, right? I might do this as my life's work, right? What was that moment, previous job or like you whatever it was? You're like, you know what? I'm pretty good at this. Like, I'm damn good at this, right? And
Yeah.
I might be able to make me a lot of money and have a really successful life doing this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing now, right? As I'm a part, my as a hobby, I run MVP, which is just an investment advisory company, and I love it. It's not even work for me, right? Looking at, um, you know, learning about founders' journeys and making investments. So that's something like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are my heroes. Um, Rest in peace, Charlie Munger. So I'm going to be running MVP for 110, 120, as long as I can live,
They
you
scooted up
know.
just a little bit.
I'm going to be, yeah, I'm going to be running MVP for, until
And how long?
I
What year did you start that? Is that a recent adventure of yours, or you been doing it for a
I
while?
started Angel Investing in 2014.
Okay.
So, and then definitely accelerated through the past.
And what made you want to get involved in investing?
Um, Actually, that's interesting. So I don't know if I told you the story, but my grandfather was actually technically the first corporate investor in Phil Knight, Nike in 1972, when they're doing $1 million in revenue. And there's pictures of them on my LinkedIn. But I just remember, telling my grandfather, it's like, man, if you actually did an angel check and invested in Phil, be like $1 billion or whatever, right? And it was a corporate investment. And so I always thought like, wow, wouldn't it be great to, be able to back, founders early before they build $100 billion company. Somehow that kind of stuck with me, that 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 desire. And so um, I when I met a very successful angel investor in Maui at the Andaz Hotel, like one of my just backstory, one of my good friends, Amit Gupta, who I met in San Francisco, well, I'm also an investor in. I went to one of his weddings. I went to his not one of his wedding at the Andaz Hotel in Maui. If you haven't been there, it's probably one of the most beautiful properties. Um, and there I met a gentleman called Paige Craig, who's probably one of the most successful angel investors on the planet. And he invited me to invest uh, with him. And so I wrote my first check. It was like a 10K check. I remember when he first said, "Would you like to be an angel investor?" I said, I don't have enough liquid, or I don't think I can financially do it. And he mentioned 10K, so that's something I could do, and that's got me off to down this rabbit hole, and I've done over a couple hundred, right?
So you've been with actually like you actually worked with 5 previous startups.
Hmm.
How has your like previous startup experiences helped you figure out what to invest in?
Yeah, that's actually been a great data um, source to really hone um, my decision process. In terms of like identifying like characters of a good CEO or founder, um, identifying like where there's potential product market fit, really understanding like how they go to market and brand, because for a startup company, right, it's they're very resource constrained. So you know not only do you have to have a great technology products, like how do people even find out about it, right? So you're really trying to understand like how they can solve those two, uh execute based on like finding product market fit. So it's definitely uh help in my decision making process.
So when founders like pitch you or whatever, what's I don't say a red flag. What's something like cause you concern? Like is it like they have everything good, but like maybe the business model's not right, or maybe they don't know the financials, or they're nowhere on social media. Like what causes concern when you talk to
So
founders?
yeah, it depends on how early you're investing. If it's pre-CC, which most of my investments are, like there's basically no revenue. So you know it's easier if you're in private equity or doing Series B, C, D. You have numbers to work with, right? Numbers are like the language of God, right? Or business. It's like the most important data point that you can really do very deep due diligence. And obviously you're going to be paying a much higher price for that. But I use a simple like couple frameworks, right? One is like, why are you the best person in the world to solve this problem?
And do you find people have trouble answering that question?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of times if they can't really answer it with,
And you think that's because like they're like too humble or something like that, or like they really
they don't really have, they
just
can't
don't
really
have the
justify
answer?
why they're the
Okay.
best person in the world to solve
Okay.
the problem. I think a lot. I think entrepreneurship is it's like people want to be rock stars, right? It's like people want to be entrepreneur, and I think Peter Thiel mentioned this, right? And so, and it's very glamorous to say, hey, I'm a founder and CEO of a company, and there's a lot of people who are going for it, which is amazing. But entrepreneurship is extremely like difficult, right? I think 90%, over 90% of startups fail. These are
Yeah. I
venture
mean, this
backed
shit
startups.
fucking sucks. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
unicorns and rainbows, right? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. And so I have nothing but amazing, respect and admiration for people who are are going for this epic hero's journey, right? But yeah, and so back to your like, how do I the framework of analyzing the founder, and I learned this from Page Craig as well, as I use the vice framework, like vision, intelligence, character, and execution, right? So I try to rate them on those areas, like what's the vision they have, for this company in 5 to 10 years. And if
so
it's
when you investment, like that's for like January 1st, 2025, on the day, you're going to say to yourself, okay, I want to like listen to 1,000 pitches. Of those 1,000 pitches, I want to meet 100 founders. Those 100 founders, I want to do a deep dive in 10 founders and then maybe invest out of 5 of those 1,000. Do you have metrics like that, or is this like something different?
No, I mean, I just I get sent a lot of deal flow. I also get a lot of inbound from LinkedIn. So I try to look at every single one of them. I can usually decide in a few seconds if this is an area that I would be interested in learning more. I mean, so the investment that I do is very niche, right? Like they have to be highly technical founders. And another test is like, can they make $1 million or $500,000 working at, mega tech, right? So they have to be extremely talented, a technical founder, and then they're going on this hero's journey and taking no salary or taking a very, very big pay cut. So they have to be very strong technical talent, technical founding team is one of it. In addition to like, why you're the best person in the world to solve this problem. Justify that.
So I don't know if you see this meme. It was on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago, and it was like it was a joke, of course, that I kind of shown how investors are going too far AI. So two people went to try to went to the same investment firm, try to get an investment right. One founder team, we've cured cancer. We're not interested. The next founder team came on. We want to do a food truck based on AI. Here's $10 million, but we don't know how. We don't know anything about AI. Here's $10 more million. Learn about it, right? So do you think the spectrum is going too far as far as AI investment? And
Not, I don't think sophisticated investors,
of course, that's meant
like,
as a joke, of course.
yeah, yeah, that's a total joke. I mean, at one time, like anything AI seems like people are throwing, on their whole pitch deck, or they put the AI, and then when you peel the onion, they're just, basically, they have an API from OpenAI, which is
Yeah,
fine as part of their,
but you're not an AI
but
company
they're
if you
not,
do that.
when you say they're AI, it's like what, are you, what type of, AI again, the mode for AI is data. So a lot of times, easy way to due diligence like is, so your AI company. So what type of proprietary data do you have that you're able to train and fine tune those models, right? And so, and if they give you blank space, then they're not doing AI, blank blank stare. So and when I do due diligence with these people, I bring one of the smartest people that I know in AI to help me with due diligence. Um, and so because I'm not deeply technical, but again, that's just a side gig, and right now I'm full time director of AI ML business line for Centific, so that takes majority of my time.
So what does that company do?
So that's very similar to what Scale AI does. We do a lot of for the LLM space, we do a lot of red teaming, prompt authoring responses. We basically help deploy the LLMs safely. So the biggest problem for LLM is what they call hallucination, right? So hallucination is basically a fancy word for they talk shit or they lie a lot, right? They basically will output incorrect uh, answers or output. So if you want to move that to production, right, you want to ensure that you get as less hallucination as possible. So, our company does a lot of, uh, what we call RLHF, reinforcement learning human feedback, uh, for companies like Amazon, Microsoft.
Yes.
We also have a very large engineering group where we can build custom models, computer vision models, logistic models. Um, so
Can you give us like I don't know if this is an answer to this, but can you give like a simple definition of AI, ML, and language learning models? Is there such thing as a simple definition like the average layman who knows nothing about tech?
I mean, AI, like I always like to say, AI just simply is data and computation. And if you kind of think about AI, it's just simply a prediction engine, right? Model, right? And so that's where data comes in, right? If you have shitty data, you're gonna have shitty predictions. It's like, and so if you have good data, you have good output, right? So, at the end of the day, AI is just simply data and then compute, but the quality of the AI is depending on the quality of the data. So, um, I mean, a good way to put it, I mean, and then, but, I'm sure there's probably a much better answer, but I think I always like to say AI is simply data and compute. And so if you really want to make AI work, you better have a lot of good data with, and so LLMs are large language, right? Which are just, in the past 2-3 years, it just blew up thanks to, ChatGPT 2 or 3 or 2 that came out. And what OpenAI did was like they basically scraped the whole internet, right? And they use that as training data. That's why they call it large language models. Create a very brilliant UI and brilliant engineers with the advent of transformers that help to create this amazing new tool. So, and right now there's a big arms race, right? Not that we have OpenAI, we have Anthropic, Cohere, Falcon, you have open source. So, there's a lot of discussions around what are the true moats, right, for these LLMs, and is it just a big bubble? And yeah, I do believe that within a bubble, there's always going to be some interesting winners, just like Amazon and other companies.
So for like OpenAI, there's OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, all these things out there. Does the one someone use really matter? Are they basically doing the same thing, or is there advantage of using one versus another, or are they basically the same?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the use case, right? I mean, every week it seems like people come out saying our model is higher quality based on these benchmarks. And so, like Google, with Gemini, um, but OpenAI definitely has a big lead. And again, it depends on the use case. I feel, and some other of my smart friends feel like open source will probably win. But again, it's a big market. There's going to be certain winners depending on the use cases. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're so early days, and a lot of other even smart investors are just looking at this crazy investment, to them a bubble, right, for these LLMs, and they don't think there's a sustainable, long-term moat or business model around it. But again, time will tell. One can argue that the unit economics is sort of effed up when it comes to, like, when you have $20 a user, right, that they're paying for, but the compute cost is actually very expensive. So, but again, compute costs are coming down, models are getting smaller. Um, yeah, it's still early in this wild, wild west of LLM. So,
Yes. So let's suppose someone graduated high school 20 years ago. They barely graduated, like barely graduated. Last 20 years, they've had like menial jobs, like construction workers or maybe a low-level executive assistant, right? But now they want to get involved in AI and like in machine learning, right? Is it too late for them, or is it just a matter of have to go back to school and learn the skills? Like, how do they get involved, or how do they learn this, or is it past their time, so to speak?
no, I mean, with the internet and YouTube, and I mean, a lot of the great universities, uh, Stanford, MIT, you can take free courses, uh, and learn as much as you want for free. And I think Naval said this, like the the desire to learn is actually the biggest bottleneck. And so, if you really want to learn anything, you have access to it through your phone and through the internet. So it's not too late at all. I mean, a lot of it is like, are you motivated to sit your butt down and
Yeah.
not drink beer and play games, watch sports all day, and actually like learn, more about AI ML. There's so much resources out there. So it's not too late at all. In fact, you have the desire,
Yeah.
you can learn anything you want.
So back to simulation theory real fast, right?
Mhm.
So I have this theory, right? So like, you know how like below us, like there's ants, bees, all these
Uh-huh.
channels of life. In my mind, so two things I think, right? So I think there's like we're like kind of above ants and bees, you know. Benford, did you see that thing on the news like a couple weeks ago where they found this like millions of miles of ant colonies, and these ant colonies have like, you know, farms that like storage and stuff. And they asked the people like, how does it happen? When they have like on these smart, oh no, it's just instinct. I'm like, how the fuck is this instinct, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
no,
incredible, actually. Yeah. Um,
like
Daniel
how is
Dennett
that the
was,
instinct?
yeah. I mean, if you've seen someone like the ant, the castles they build, like,
Yeah,
they had a pic. I think Daniel Dennett, who I really listened to a lot back in the days, like showed like an ant colony castle and like some
yeah, all that stuff. There's
amazing
no way that's instinct.
Italian. I mean, what is instinct? I mean, I think it's
I mean,
genetically like,
yeah.
you know, uh, through evolution and everything, just literally programmed in their
I
DNA.
mean, you could argue, you know, the average person wakes up in the morning, brushes their teeth, eats breakfast,
Mhm.
drives 20 minutes to work, works 8 hours, come back. You could argue that's the instinct. I think, you know, they're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, most of our human activity is like, habits. And I mean, that's just where, I study a lot of neuroscience. And, on my free time, that's another passion of mine. I, I, um, and then that's where that rabbit hole of do we really have free will came in. And I spent, uh, during the pandemic, I was literally listening to every, podcast on free will and neuroscience. And, Robert Sapolsky, check him out. He's a brilliant Stanford neuroscientist. Sam Harris, I really like Sam Harris as well. He's the one that really maybe, he has a really good episode on free will. So one can argue that we don't have much free will. Like we're literally, I define free will as nature and nurture, right? Nature is your
They
genetics.
can't. So this is something you can talk about for like
Nurture.
5, 10 minutes, right?
I can talk about this forever.
All right. So I actually have to go to the bathroom.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm gonna have you like do talk about what you want to, right?
Yeah.
And that's your camera right there. You want to talk to the camera?
Oh yeah. I mean, are we still live or?
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna talk to myself. I would just wait for you.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I mean, you can talk to good people watching though.
It's fine. I'm just
Okay.
gonna
All right.
grab another NA beer.
Okay. Yeah, that beer just ran through me.
Good beer, huh? I love it.
It's really good.
It's
Yeah.
also really good for hydration.
Yeah. So back to free will.
Yeah. It also depends on how you define free will, but back to your like, story about how ants and have that instinct. And again, there's arguments that they're just basically programmed, right, to do that through evolution. Um, So, I mean, I don't know if you ever thought deeply about do we have free will?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so a lot of it is how you define free will, right? And so, but then there's another guy named Donald Hoffman who I really got into. Um, and so, that consciousness is fundamental. So I have two very opposite uh, theories that I hold on to loosely, right? Where, I believe sometimes I believe we don't have free will, and sometimes that conscious is everything. So this whole conscious experience we have you know, is all there is. So we have free will. And then the big picture is like, doesn't matter if we have free will, right? Because our whole society and how we live is like, we have to live like it.
Yeah, 'cause I know like some like religions, like Christianity, is like the Baptist, Catholics, or whatever. I know some. I can't think it's the Methodist or Luther's. One of them, they're like everything's predetermined, right? So before you're born, it's predetermined you're going to hell or whatever, right? So I just think it's predetermined. Why does it matter what I do, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's it.
if predetermined I'm going to hell, why waste my life doing good stuff, right? I'm going to hell anywhere, right? And vice versa, you know?
Yeah. But then why would you know if you have, unless somebody
Yeah,
told you up front, right?
I know. Yeah,
And then what's this concept of hell, right? Like, I don't really,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, free will for me is nature and nurture.
Mhm.
Nature is like your genetics, right? And people are born with different talents, right? Athletics. Like I love athletics, but I was born with very poor like athletic genes. I can never be a professional football player or basketball player. Or there's some people who are just genetically gifted, right? Whether it's like singing and art and math and sciences, right? Like Einstein and these people were genetically gifted. And then there's also a big nurture part. You don't choose, and nature part is also, you don't choose your parents or anything. Right? Nurture is like where you grow up, right? You don't really choose that either. So do you really have much free will? And Sam Harris goes into that deeply. That made me really think about this concept of free will. And then, Robert Sapolsky goes even deeper as a neuroscientist in terms of inputs and outputs and how everything is like. And then with scans, you'll know exactly what you do before you're conscious. And like, there's a lot of really interesting neuroscience around it. But fundamentally, I do believe that I have free will because I think that our conscious experience is everything. So, but it's interesting for me because even when I evaluate founders, right, I look deeply into their past, right,
Mhm.
like their nature and nurture
Mhm.
to find out why they are who they are. So that kind of gives me a good understanding of the character, right, that they
So
have.
if a founder had to overcome an obstacle, like maybe being born from a single parent household, maybe had to work through college,
Mhm.
whatever that obstacle is, does that give them an advantage? Do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean that grit and is actually one of the most important traits that I look for is that ability to overcome extreme hardships. And if you look at like a lot of talented entrepreneurs, they did come from a lot of hardships. They have that chip on their shoulder, right, where they want to prove to the world that that they are somebody. And that's a really good trait to have. Um, and so because it takes so much drive to found a venture scale business, so you need that crazy grit.
Yes, yes. So back to my theory, right? Like I said, I think we're like above ants, bees, all these like different things, right? But
Mhm.
I think there's something above us, right? I think there's something above us looks down on us like we're the bees or ants,
Yeah,
right? Or if that is a god or some kind of
AI
alien
someday.
race or the simulation, I think there's something above us, like
Yeah, that
looking down on us. What it is, I have no idea. I'm not smart enough to know that, but I think there's like something like just like suppose there's an ant colony somewhere, and once in a while somebody pour some water on it. Once in a while somebody like walk through it and
yeah.
mess it all up. I think like that's like this is really going to wrap it up. I think like when we have like tornadoes and hurricanes, that's like someone above us like kind of stepping on our anthill, so to speak.
Yeah, that's the fear of AI, right? That AI is going to get so smart, we're going to be like monkeys, apes, in terms of like the level of intelligence. Um, which, again, can happen in a certain, function and domain. Um, but yeah, I mean, at this right now, currently, I think human species, Homo sapiens, we're definitely in terms of like neuron complexity, and I mean, we're definitely the number one on this planet, right? I can't think of anything that is above human species in terms of like, um,
Now can like other animals like destroy us in a one-on-one battle if we have no weapons? Yeah, of
oh, of
course.
course, yeah,
Like I don't want to go against a grizzly bear without just by my bare skin, right?
yeah. I mean, it depends on how what you're
But as far as like
measuring
being the
on.
number one predator, yeah, I don't think it's one close.
Yeah, but again, that's the fear of AI, right? Because AI, and that's why there's a lot of, um, fear around that AI without having the right guardrails or having the right regulation, that it will it'll be much smarter than us human species, and can
So
cause a lot of damage.
in the past, there was like different, like there was like the Tanneron man, all these different forms of humanity, right? Like Homo sapien, whatever we call, like different things.
Yeah.
Do you think we're about to be a different, like a different type of human, right?
Yeah,
Like
cyborg. Yeah.
cyborg, like
Yeah, we are.
maybe
Look at
human
Neuralink.
AI or something like that. Think that's coming.
It's already here. I mean, like,
I mean, Neuralink
we're
is
literally with this, we're a cyborg. It's a very low bandwidth connection. I mean, Elon would said this a few times. Neuralink is quite revolutionary, right? I mean, I have a buddy at work at the gym. He has like a full on bionic knee, right? So like,
I forgot about the $6 million man back in the day.
yeah, I mean, so we are literally, human machine cyborgs, and especially, with this crazy supercomputer, having access to it, right? I mean, I can't live without this phone. I mean, Google Maps,
You can run your
Uber,
business on it. You do everything with it.
right? So we are literally, um, cyborgs already. So, and then with Neuralink, I mean,
Are you
that's
doing
a
that?
different.
Putting the Neuralink in your head?
Not right now, but
No.
I mean, once I'll probably consider it when it's when there's enough data, right,
Yeah. I want to think another
for
point.
safety and things like
Yeah.
that. But
I don't think people realize how much power is on smartphones, right? I think I remember reading somewhere like there's more power on a smartphone than all the computer power that sent us to the moon back in the
yeah,
60s, right? Which is totally insane, I think.
yeah, it is pretty insane. I mean, it just shows you the exponential curve that we're on for.
And what's that saying? I think I'm gonna fuck this up, but we used to think lack of access to information had made people stupid. Now we realize it wasn't that, we have access to information all there,
Yeah,
and people are still stupid, so to speak.
yeah, that's a very interesting. I remember reading about that, and uh, like, yeah, I mean, I would think that with the access to all this information, the key is like with a lot of information, there's a lot of shitty or bad information, right? So
Yeah.
again, like I look at myself like as machine learning model, right? It's like we're basically our whole algorithms or how we view the world is based upon the information that we ingest, right, and that we believe in. So if you're out there reading all about QAnon and whatever, you're gonna be extremely like
And the algorithm is gonna
conspiracious.
put that stuff back in front of you.
Yeah, and then yeah, with all the relevant machine learning models out there, like if if you're engaging with this specific content, they're going to feed you more of that because they want to sell ads, right? And so it just perpetuate the bias that you have for that specific belief, which is scary. And I mean that's the whole issue right now in this country, right? With this crazy like um, fighting among Republicans, Democrats. I mean, I feel like we should all just unite and for you know citizens of United States of America, and but we have this crazy, you know, uh, I mean, some people say Ray Dalio think it might be civil war. I mean, that's
I mean,
fucking crazy.
yeah, like how,
And
how do you, I don't know what you have
that
Trump
type.
and Biden again, right? Like how? I mean, like that's fucking insane. Like
Yeah, I mean, we live in a fucking simulation. Then, if you think about how insane this world is right now,
I think I've read a stat like 75% of Democrats don't want Biden, 72% of Republicans don't want Trump, but here we are. Like at least like to me, both those Democratic parties
did
have
you really
failed
get
us.
70% Republicans don't want Trump?
Yeah, but they have no other choice,
Yeah.
right?
Wait, JFK is running as a Republican, right?
RFK,
Yeah,
RFK
RFK.
Jr. Yeah,
Yeah, I like him. I've
yeah,
listened to a few times. I mean, I don't really follow politics. Again, most of my time I'm either working out or
yeah.
listening to neuroscience
But it
or health
matters, right? I
podcasts.
mean,
Or I mean, yeah, I try not to go to that. I know someday I will. It's just not on my priority list. Like you know,
yeah, I got more important things to do. Um, so let's talk about. I'm gonna say this word wrong, like philosophy. I think it's Stoicism.
stoicism.
Stoicism, like I know, Emperor. What's his name?
Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
He's a big one. He's like, isn't he the biggest one? I know
I
there's
mean,
some
yeah,
more.
there's a couple others. Oh my gosh, I forgot the names. Ryan Holiday, I bought a few of his books if you really want to get a really quick intro on Stoicism. Um, so I really like reading some of Ryan Holiday stuff, like Memento Mori. I really like the concept of
Yeah,
remember you'll die. It's like a
yeah,
skull. Mori Fati, like embrace fate, everything that happens in life. It's just, just having a view in life that, you know, um, just being resilient and doing what you can to, that's in your control. Being conscious of death is one. It just like for me, I really that some of Marcus Aurelius' all that stuff resonated with me. So
Isn't
I
it
like
crazy
those.
he was alive what 1,000 years ago maybe? I mean,
Yeah, a long time ago.
and
I
I
don't know.
and like
Yeah.
and we're still like I won't say following with his like words and deeds, but people like still like meditate on him and like really like live it as a lifestyle, right?
Yeah, because he
Even though
wrote
years ago.
Meditations, and it was a really, you know, because he wrote that book down and became a philosopher. And a lot of the stuff he shared was very helpful for me.
Yeah. So how do you learn from other people? What's your method for like learning from people?
I mean, there's multimodal ways of learning from people, right? Face to face, like this, books, podcasts. I mean, it's just information and data. So you know, I'm, I listen to, I'm reading an audiobook right now. Or I'm listening to an audiobook. I meet people face to face and, get the whole multimodal. So, you can learn many different ways, right? Like, I haven't been reading paper books as much. I seem to be more like, I like to walk and listen to
So that's that's
books.
that's how you learn best right now.
I think so. I like it, and some people don't like it. Like I love going on long walks or hikes with the audio. Um, going to Elliott Bay Water or going to Madrona Beach. Just listening to audiobook or podcast. I feel like I really ingest the information well as I move my body. Um, versus like sitting down, I
Yeah.
get really antsy because I'm super high energy
Yeah.
and pretty ADHD. Like uh, I was actually diagnosed with ADHD in college, so there's some pretty. But again, if I can hyper focus, if there's like something really interesting,
Yes.
I seem to learn best when I'm like moving
On the
around,
move.
walking around.
Okay. That's good. Um, so AI and ethics, right? Of course, a lot of people are worried about AI ethics, right? Is there a way, of course, my thing is like whoever like does the AI, right? How do we make sure they're ethically like, doing the right thing ethically, right? How do you make sure the people coding the AI, whatever, like they're doing the best things? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because like I know there's like things out these like HR tech recruiting AIs are coming out,
Mm-hmm.
being sure to have bias. I'm making this up. I think it's like some kind of a facial recognition for police department,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they didn't include any African Americans in there, so it was all biased against African Americans, right? Like, I mean, is there a way to prevent this, or just like
Yeah.
the cost of the business,
And
so to
that's
speak?
what, yeah, I mean, it's hard because bias can be subjective, right? But that's a data problem. And so the way to cure data is to have enough representation of that data that you feel is, where it's causing bias and feeding that model so it can, it can solve that. So that's where this whole responsible AI, safe AI, it's just data, like you having enough data to be able to solve those bias issues. And that's again, AI is just simply data and computation. You have bad, shitty data, and it's an inference engine, right? So it's better data, better prediction, higher quality. Bad data or missing data, you're gonna have poor results, right? You're gonna also miss some demographics that are represented because the data is not there. So it's just data. You just need to collect, data. And again, it's whoever is you know, uh, again, biases can be subjective too sometimes, right? So that's another difficult.
Is there some kind of like international AI ethics organization out there somewhere that's like overseeing all this stuff and say, hey, this
I
is
don't know, and I
bad
don't know if I
AI?
want them. Like, why do you want these people who don't understand AI? Like some government, like I don't really believe we should regulate AI, right? Like, there's a big right now debate saying AI should be regulated, but I think that's going to hinder competition. You're going to have other countries like China and India and everybody who doesn't have less restrictions to continue to innovate. Like regulation, it's done by these, I don't know, people who don't understand AI in the government. Like,
I
who are
mean,
these guys who
yeah.
give us these
Perfect
guardrails?
example when I was sure you've seen it with like the TikTok president with testifying of Congress. They're like, these old ass men had no clue what they're asking, right? And this makes us. I don't think, man, you should ask your intern what to ask, right?
Yeah, I
It was
mean
so, it
that's
was
why
so
these guys are
embarrassing.
making I mean,
It
like,
was so
yeah, I'm
embarrassing.
I'm so against that. I mean, so Elon and all these guys signed things about I forgot what they signed. So maybe I see that they want to sort of collaborate and build some type of a and I believe in that. But in terms of like government regulation, I mean, I do believe that there should be like standards and people leaders in AI getting together and collaborating for the greater good, right? And so I think Microsoft, they're all trying to do that. I think. Um, so
Is US and China the two big players in AI, or are there like other countries like in the competition with us as far as moving AI forward? Or
I
is it
mean,
just US and
US has always been the lead, and China as US, China, India, from a in terms of um, probably our top three. And I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the data. So one thing I realize is that, you know, I look at the data, and most of the stuff say if I'll change my mind anytime, any day. I just look at the data. But yeah, it just seems that US is a lead. China is like up there with us, given that their massive investment in AI and just the brain power they have. They have over 1.4 billion people, and they're brilliant. You know, a lot of brilliant STEM scientists come from, right? Same as India. So when you have the talent and the investment, you're going to have a lot of innovation. So I think those three countries, but US is by far right now, I think, in the lead. Um, but China could be blow past us on certain areas.
is there a country out there like no one knows about that's doing big things in AI, like maybe Ecuador or like Paraguay, like kind
I
of
have no
that
idea. I mean, there
okay.
could be, right? I know the Middle East, with all the money, they're recruiting a lot of the top research scientists to go out and go out there, pay them a lot of money to really, with unlimited oil money, right? But again, it's the massive scale of talent we have in the U.S. and the capital from venture and whatever is unmatched here. So I'm sure there are, but nothing compared to the U.S. But again, I haven't really looked at all the data.
So why do you think Seattle's become like one of the I'm presuming this is correct. Why Seattle has become like one of the leading AI hubs?
Well, it's simple. I mean, talent here. Amazon, Microsoft, they have a lot of great engineers, but it's not the top. I mean, the top is still by far Bay Area. Because a lot of it is just there isn't much venture funding in Seattle compared to, but yeah, Seattle's definitely have a lot more investment and a lot more innovations happening in AI, but it's nothing compared to the Bay Area yet. But Seattle is hot because of the talent. I mean, so many brilliant engineers and scientists from at Amazon, Microsoft, Meta. They're all moving out here. So and then they're the ones that decide they want to embark on their startup journey and starting AI company, and they were continuing to do that. But we're still gonna be far, far, far behind the area given the capital support and
So I think there's a AI Seattle AI Week next month, right?
yeah.
Are you involved in any kind of way or
Yeah, I think I'm helping to sponsor a couple events.
okay?
There's CVPR coming up in June, which is computer vision pattern recognition that we're
Is this the first Seattle
sponsoring.
AI Week, or they did this last year too?
They did it last year.
They did okay. All right.
This is sponsored by like Madrona and AI2
So it's basically like
and
a startup Seattle Week sort, but just focused
yeah,
on AI. Okay.
and a lot of sponsored by a lot of the Pioneer Square, like a lot of the VCs and venture community out here.
Yeah. So with investing in Seattle, right? I know a lot of investors in Seattle get criticism. They don't invest so much. They don't have like funds, whatever. I know like a lot of startup founders, they go different places to get funding versus Seattle.
Uh-huh.
Do you think anything can be done with bringing more capital, or just that's the way it's been? It's always going to be like this, and people can have to maybe go to the Bay Area as part of their fundraising strategy versus getting money here.
I mean, there's Bay Area just by sheer scale is always going to have, in just the history, they're going to have large mega funds out there. I mean, a lot of them are actually opening up offices up here, so that's going to help. Where they have partners that are scouting out talent here in Seattle, and I think money is going to go where the talent and opportunity is. So as we churn out some more interesting companies here in Seattle, like a lot of the funds will have, a lot of the GPs will move out here, right? Tax reasons like that. Um, but yeah, I think Seattle is definitely a very promising place for AI.
And for your own investments, is it like majority Seattle based companies? Like is it equally balanced across different places in the United
It's
States?
very little Seattle. Mostly it's like Y Combinator
Okay.
companies based out of Bay. way to put
And
it.
so you
So
go
most
to,
of my portfolio have been Y Combinator,
and so you go to,
demo day type of. Most
you do demo day in
Yeah,
person?
so I'm an LP in a few funds where they have people that bring me interesting deal flow, and then I would, invest with them. But yeah, most of my portfolio have been more Y Combinator batches.
And for the demo day at Work Combinator, like, are these companies you already know about? Like, they maybe pitched before, or it's like you walk in a demo day and it's the first time you've seen them pitch. You make a decision off the first time
I
demo
actually
day.
there's a directory on all the Y Combinator batches, and I look at each one of them.
Okay.
I have time to see, not each one, but or people would bring me these interesting ones that they feel are the most promising on the batches. And I would look at the deal memo, the pitch deck, and then maybe talk with the founder.
Nice. What's quantum mechanics? Is quantum mechanics and quantum computer the same thing, or those two different things?
I'm not a physicist, but they're two different. I mean, quantum
Okay.
mechanics is, you know, um, quantum mechanics is fascinating, right? Because if you think about quantum mechanics, it gave us the transistor, and transistor gave us a computer and everything, right? But the quantum mechanics, nobody understands how it works. It's like literally like a electron can be a wave and a particle, like and nobody understands how it works. It's like literally shut up and calculate, right? It's like the Schrodinger equation. So um, there's a lot of spirituality involved in quantum mechanics, right? With all the law of attraction saying, that. So but people take it too far. But quantum mechanics breakthrough gave us this whole technological revolution. It took us from cavemen to like these super, uh, you know, gave us all this super technology. So in quantum computing, it's still not a real thing in terms of running in production. Like it's still theory. There's a lot of reasons why. I'm not a so I don't want to like go. I don't want to be incorrect, but quantum mechanics is basically give us everything we have here, right?
Yes.
It's
Um,
interesting, and many other things. Like again, I'm not a physicist, but it's just amazing uh, breakthroughs in our human species. If you look at the history of like how this whole technological like exponential curve went crazy, is because the founding people, you know, who developed these interesting uh interesting algorithms or functions and everything that works, even though they don't know why it works, and it gives us this crazy world.
here's one for you. So
Mind blowing.
way back in the day, everyone on Earth just knew it was only Earth and nothing else, right? Like the Earth revolved around the sun, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then later that's disproven, right? So all the years, the smallest people in the world are proven to be wrong, right?
Yeah,
So
we're still.
what do we know that without a doubt is true now? Do you think is going to be proven to be false?
There's going to be a lot of things that's going to be. The only thing that came out was this free will concept, but again, that's going to shake up society too much. They're not going to really focus on it. I don't think that we don't really truly have free will, but it's going to help. Like when you go down the street and you see all these homeless people, like it's not their fault. Like they come from very difficult childhoods. Their neurons haven't developed because they didn't get the love and nurture. Like people in prison, like you can do studies on them. Like a lot of them have trauma in the hardware that they had. A lot of people who murder people, like it's like they can see the brain waves that they get. They're born with some type of a uh, hardware issue. So I think that will help us. We look at these people as like, oh, they're just lazy and they're drug addicts. And I think with understanding of neuroscience, we'll have a lot more compassion, and hopefully we'll change a lot of how we put people in prison. Like, I don't think we should put drug addicts in prison. I don't think we should put, and there should be some level of rehabilitation, but I think that will be a big shift studying the science. So that of it. And
So
doing a lot of things to mitigate that initial risk, right?
would this be ethical to do or not? Like suppose like there's a bunch of kids born, right? And genetically they say, okay, this kid's gonna be predis- predetermined to do this. This kid's predetermined to like, based on the genes, neuroscience, what effect be
Yeah,
predetermined to be homeless, right? It would be ethical to go and like change those genes around to make that person a more productive
like
member of
CRISPR.
society. Yeah.
I mean, so ethics is based upon one's own, like, like ethics is sort of subjective, right?
Mhm.
So it also depends on what the reason for that. I mean, if I knew like this person is going to be a serial killer and I can do a CRISPR to take that gene out of aggression, like I would, seems quite ethical to do that. So I don't know. It's case by case, and I think it's going to depend on.
And then who makes that decision, the human or the AI?
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole area that
Another rabbit hole, right?
yeah. If we can go to a specific use case, maybe we can.
I mean, what's
I
the
can
thing they
think
always
of it.
say? If you go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby, would you do it? A lot of people say yes, but then by killing Hitler, you change everything, right? Like,
Yeah,
you have no idea what the
yeah.
outcome
Those are
would be.
hypothetical. I don't like to really.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just one of those hypothetical where I can't really. It's gonna depend on
yeah. And then
a lot of
people,
things.
people like time travel, like going back in time, whatever. Like, but even you go back to change one little thing, all these timelines like diverge and change, right? Like, just to me, it's just close confusing. Like, even with the Avengers movies, back in time, right, for the fight Thanos, like all the different timelines. To me, it's just too fucking confusing, right? It's like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, again, why go through that? Because we don't. I mean, we don't know. I mean, not. It's a thought experiment that you can
mhm,
go down many different paths,
yeah,
but
definitely,
it's entertaining sometimes.
yeah. And then this is my thing too. Like, so were you able to see the Northern Lights last weekend?
So I did you see it?
Yeah,
So I was freaking out. I was actually with Greg and those guys at a we were at at Sam's bar. I thought that Neuralights, like I remember my friend went to see it, but I was like, oh, the chances are that it won't happen because Northern Lights, you don't know if it's gonna happen.
hmm,
And I learned this in Alaska, seeing where I went to this aurora like museum, and they're saying that people like camera people would spend like days or weeks trying to
yeah,
witness that aurora, right? So I was like, oh, so I had a buddy that decided to go up 2.5 hours, and he saw a magnificent aurora, right, or Northern Lights, and I was like, wow. And then I found out the next day that there might be a showing, so I went out to Edmond's water park in that area and waited for like 2-3 hours until
yeah,
like 1 a.m. Nothing happened.
yeah,
So I didn't get to see it live. I tried to see it on Saturday,
uh-huh.
but you saw it, yeah?
Yeah. So
How
I
was it? Like,
it was great. So like it was Friday. I heard it's coming right, but I heard the
yeah,
next of the news. We probably be able to see it, whatever. Like, so I just actually I fell asleep early Friday night, and
yeah,
next morning I wake up like all these pictures on Facebook,
yeah,
like motherfucker in Texas, Colorado, Florida,
yeah.
like, and
Unbelievable, beautiful
I
pictures.
was so pissed, right? And so that night I went with a friend. So I live in a town called DuPont. Went to the golf course, like a
That's a nice area. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so we stayed up. We didn't see the lights. Like we're out here anywhere to stay. So we didn't actually see the lights until the lights were out in Duke from like 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. We had to stay a long time. Yeah.
Wait, so you didn't see it, right? Saturday.
Saturday, no, Sunday morning from 2 to
You
5 a.m.
saw it?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it
Sunday.
pretty clear?
Yeah.
So 2 to 5, it did show up.
Yeah.
Okay. I,
Yeah.
I went to sleep then.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so my point I was going to make, right? So like this something we don't see all the time. What else is out there you want to see, right? Like what else is there that we don't see, right? Because like, maybe it's not a solar flare, not magnetic storms, but do you think there's anything out there we're not seeing? Like,
From a nature like
yeah,
phenomenon perspective, I
yeah,
mean, I
maybe there's,
mean, I think, given the propagation of the, tech and this, like, I think we are seeing a lot of different things. But again, we only see certain light frequencies, so I'm
mhm,
sure we're missing a lot that
yeah,
butterflies and other species with different things, they probably see way interesting things. Because we're limited by our hardware, right?
yeah,
So, but yeah, I think we don't see anything. We don't,
yeah,
I mean, like our dogs can smell way more
yeah.
deeper. Like, you know, I heard like some other species like butterfly can see so many different, or I don't know, bats or whatever, or other uh, animals, right? That so there's a lot of things we don't see because of our limited hardware. Yeah,
So you have this quote, um, wisdom acquisition is a moral duty. Is that by Munger?
yeah, Charlie Munger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really resonated with me. So I spend most of my time just trying to learn and try to be less ignorant as possible. Basically, train my machine learning model to be more, a little more accurate, right? And so that's why I read a lot. I ingest a lot of data, um, so I can, um, you know, make better decisions because we have so much blind spots. so much biases.
And I
that
think the
really
problem
don't.
is most people don't recognize that. They say,
No, they don't.
so many
Yeah,
people like, I know everything. Do you really? Like,
yeah.
the
That's
older
the
I
thing.
get, the
Yeah,
more I realize I don't know shit.
I don't know shit. That's one thing as more I learn, more I realize I don't know anything. But and the best you can do is, I mean, we don't really, and we're all making decisions based on limited data. But and depending on what you're solving for, like it's fine, it works. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people moving around this world that I feel are not, awakened, right? So maybe they need to do like a
Yeah.
LSD or mushroom trip or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We need to
something.
talk about that too. So I had a friend on the podcast one time. He made me laugh, right? He was like, I don't never want to be the smartest person in the room, but I won't be the dumbest person in the room either.
I want to be the dumbest people in the room. I
Yeah.
don't want to be the smartest person in the room. Like I
Yeah.
always want to surround myself with so I can learn from them and I think I always want to be the dumbest person in the room.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to
But
be the
the
smartest person.
dumbest, like the total
Yeah,
dumbest.
sure. Yeah, totally. I'd be
Yeah.
super fine with that. I
But
mean, in fact, I
but if
would
you're
prefer that.
but if you're the dumbest, how do you have any like reference points to what's being talked about?
I mean,
You have to have a little bit of knowledge, I would think.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to. But again, you can learn, right? If you have if you're in the smartest room in the area that who are truly domain experts in the area, you just ingest a lot of information, right? And so you can actually, slowly um get clarity around
Yeah.
that topic. So yeah, I I would always want to be the dumbest person
Yeah.
in that certain like area, right? It depends on the use case, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if I'm on Jeopardy or something, winning for a big prize, like I want to be the smartest guy in the room, right? It's like,
Or more precisely,
yeah,
the smartest person on those subjects on the
yeah,
board.
of course. Fuck, yeah, like I
Like,
have something to win,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I
Like
want to.
if AI's not on the
It just
board,
depends.
yeah.
Everything's all like what's this exact
Yeah.
situation, right? Like,
So do you want to get
you
a
know,
drink or you no?
no, I'm just gonna drink. I think, but I got a lot to do today.
All right. So I
And I'm
asked
gonna
you.
have a birthday party
All
tonight.
right. So this is embarrassed. I have to use the bathroom again.
Yeah, go
That's
ahead.
okay. You want to
Chill
you
here.
want this beer? Yeah, this beer's fucking running through me for some
Yeah,
reason. I-
it's the best beer. What are you up to today? Later.
Uh, Podcasting, trying to convince people to sign up for Cavness HR, fundraising.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I have a lot of stuff going on. We'll talk about it after this.
Yeah, right on.
Um. So for your schedule, right? How do you do your schedule? Like you do like a blocks of time where you focus on one thing. You do like a 4 hour block. You do creative stuff, like 15-minute blocks.
Mhm.
Like, I'm pretty sure you don't wing it. Like how do you like do that?
Yeah, I try not to wing it, but I mean, I have so much room for improvement on that. So, um, obviously, I put priority for my role at Centific and really block off a lot of time for that activity. And then on the evenings and weekends is when I, focus on the other investment passions that I have.
Can you talk about this? Like there's people like you who are like doing a lot, right? You have a full-time job. You're doing martial arts. You're married, so that's
Mhm.
obligations. You have a pretty good social life. You have friends you hang out with once in a
Yeah.
while. There's a lot out there, right? You're doing, and somehow it sounds like you're doing all that, right? You have it kind of figured out, right? There's other people, right, who are like they work a 9 to 5 job, basic job, and they can't control that, right? They can't deal with that, right? Why do you think some people are able to like compartmentalize, do time management, focus, and others like can't? Is this like a gene people have, or is this like trained learning?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the stuff I'm doing on the side is like not work for me. Fun, right? Like, so, I'm sure those guys are prioritizing other things that are fun that, whether it's, watching sports or, watching Netflix, or I don't do any of that stuff. Like I'm a, I like to watch sports here and there. But I try to spend most, and I don't even like to watch like movies or rom-com. Like, I'm sort of a boring husband sometimes because I always want to watch documentaries or something like on physics or something or neuroscience, and my wife's like not interested, right? So, and then when I try to watch a movie, with her, like some, show, like my brain just literally be like, oh my gosh, you're wasting your fucking time with this shit. And then it's very negative, but I get that, and I don't know why it's not good. I wish I can be like, oh my gosh, I want to be able to just enjoy this, but I get really antsy, be like, I don't know if I want to spend time watching this
Yeah, I'm the same way.
show.
My wife watches TV shows, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just feel my brain cells dying, but I make myself watch it the once in a while because that's spend time with
Yeah.
her,
And there's some I really got into. And so maybe I just need to like, find a show that really, really grabs me. But yeah, I just have so much to learn. And I know there's people who love fiction and fantasy, and a lot of the smartest people I know. And I think that's an area that I really want to, when I was a kid, I used to read a lot of fantasy books. And I think it helps with the creativity and just so, but I just seem to be a guy that just loves nonfiction. Um,
Now your wife's a pretty like successful real estate agent in her own right, right?
she's on the mortgage banking,
Mortgage
and
bank,
then
yeah.
yeah, now she's opening up a store in the Bellevue Square Mall
Okay,
as
because
well.
she's killing it too, right?
I'm sorry.
So she's killing her career too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she's super busy as well. She's right now helping with the opening. She's opening up a place in Bellevue Square Mall, so she's there
Okay.
right now
Nice, nice.
doing final
Um,
touches.
so do you want to talk about psychedelics a little bit?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, cool. All right. Um, so how many companies right now are in your portfolio? Like how many, like
a couple hundred
couple hundred?
plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you like keep track? Like, do they all give you like updates once a month, once a quarter? Like,
Some do, some don't. Are some don't for reasons of just like really keeping just they're really heads down on building. And I'm not on the board or any very active, but
and what's
um
like your average investment?
it depends. Anywhere like I just recently wrote a 350K check, but it was with me and a couple partners.
Hmm.
Um, Another couple hundred K we're gonna rent, but most my individual check size is pretty small, like 10.
Okay. All right. Um, you want to highlight any of these companies real fast? Like talk about what they're doing? Anyone that pops to mind
Sure.
that are doing great things that
Yeah,
pop
I
in mind?
mean, the recent one is Exalinks Labs. Like they're building sovereign space programs, starting with the country of India and a few others. Just a brilliant team that was the founding team at Planet Labs, which launched, 150 plus satellites into space. And there's a huge space boom happening, thanks to, SpaceX and just the, technological like innovation that's happening. So there's going to be a lot of, LEO satellites in space with many different use cases, right? Whether it's high res, SAR, um, internet to RF. There's so many different use cases, right? And so there's like this huge Cambrian explosion of space. So I'm very excited about that. And a lot of times, like these sovereign nations, they don't want to rely on a Maxar or Airbus for their satellite data because at the end of the day, data is what they want. And so a lot of these countries want to build their own sovereign space program. So this company that I backed is doing that for nation states to build their own like satellite constellations and help them manage that.
So is there a startup that you invested in the past that like was say didn't make it right? Of course, you invest
There's
because
tons.
you
Yeah.
invested in this one because you knew it was going to make it,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, it didn't make it. Like, what lessons did you learn about investing from this failed startup?
I mean, you learn a lot, and that's the reason why I think, um, hopefully, you can be a good pattern matcher and seeing things. But again, whatever worked in the past doesn't mean it's going to work in the
Hmm.
future. Whatever failed, a lot of it's timing, right? Like, like in terms of like, is the market ready? Is their ecosystem and technology ready? But for me, it's just fundamentally like it's the founding team because they may have to change their idea multiple times, right?
Hmm.
So you're basically backing a highly technical team, Because if they're highly technical, technology is great because it can help them scale, and it can really be the X factor, right, when it comes to differentiation. So for me, again, I really look at the founding teams. Like, why are the most, why are the best founders to solve this problem? And also, I look for, like, back to my love for neuroscience and biology. Like, I'm looking for those freaks of nature, right, as they say, right? Just extremely uh interesting DNA, right? Like from an intelligence perspective. And then next part is look for crazy grit, like the Kobe Bryants. I call it the no off switch, right? Like, they don't have an off switch. Like, and I think you need that type of obsessive um mentality to build a venture scale business. But again, there are other areas where he's a multiple founder. They got the great team together, founding team. They know how to do it without the crazy work hours. Um, but again, I'm wrong more than I'm right. So, it keeps you very humble being an angel investor.
Has anyone
And
ever
then,
has anyone ever fooled you into making you think they were like this type of founder, and in reality they weren't?
oh yeah, I mean, all the time. I mean, they're all pitching, right? So they're trying to sell you. That's where you just start peeling the onion, right? In terms of the background. You also hit a lot of tennis balls, and you see how consistently they can hit it back. Like, do they change their story? Do they, you know, are they saying things that are a little bit not, uh, like, if they start confusing you, that's when it's like a major red flag. Like, where they start using big words, like AI. That's when it's like, and then they can't really tell me why they're using AI, and that's like a huge red flag, right? Where they just basically are just throwing big buzzwords around to see if to impress you, right?
Yeah,
Where they don't really understand what those buzzwords truly mean.
yeah.
Um, but and then, it's like a 10 to 15 year liquidity event. It's fucking, like it's not like crypto where you can get rich quick on the right, pump and dump, right? I mean, so
These are long term
these are
relationships
10
you
to
have with these
15
people.
year liquidity event, 10 to 15 year if they make it. So it's not an asset class that you know is is and it's a high risk asset class, right? So it's not an area that I advise people really get into unless they can do at least 20 bets, and then with the caveat is expect to lose all your money. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and then they have to have a passion for it. Like, they need to really enjoy, you know, understanding, and for me, as a most curious, as a guy that's super curious, it's fun for me to sort of put the puzzle and the picture together, right? Of what they're trying to accomplish. Like, for me, it's fun to learn about what they're trying to build. Like, it's fun to learn about, their vision, and why they're doing this, right? So for me, again, it's not, when he came out, he's like, why do you have all this time to do it? It's like, for me, it's play. Like, instead of playing video games, I like to do this type of stuff, right?
So let's say you have a group of technical founders come to you, right? They're technical savvy, they're building a great product. Have you found yourself you had like maybe like train them or teach them how to do like the marketing stuff, like the social media, like build your brand instead of like been all in on product? Of course, product's important, but have you had to like train up a coach someone like being like
Yeah.
putting yourself out there? Does anyone want this? That kind of stuff.
I mean, that's the most important part, right? Is if they haven't spoken to, like, first is like, why are you the best person to solve this problem, right? And then some people have been working on that specific problem for years, right? Like, for example, back in a founder that was a ex-director of Meta AI for digital marketing, and then senior director at Expedia, and he's been working on this for years on this problem of leveraging AI for digital advertising. Um, in addition to that, he's done a bunch of, like, customer interviews, right? And so, you know, he has both. That's the reason why I'm very, very convinced to support him. Is if you don't have that background of, like, that, you're 22, you're trying to go after this problem, you don't have deep domain expertise, but if you show that you spoke with 50, 100 of your ICPs, right, of your potential clients, and you told them about what you want to build, and they're like, yes, I want it, and I'm willing to pay you for it, right? That is, those are the signals we're looking for. It's like, have you spoken? Have you validated that this is actually a problem? This is not a vitamin, but a pain, a real pain that they want to actually take out money from their pockets and give you. So that's another one. Is like, how did you validate that there's demand for this? So they have to show you that they've actually spoken to 50 or 100, potential clients.
And let's suppose a founder comes to you and say, I've spoken to 100 people, and they give you the stats. Do you then like maybe like, hey, can I have a couple of those numbers? You like kind of verify that? You just
Yeah.
press the,
Yeah.
okay.
You want to go maybe do reference checks. A lot of
Okay.
VCs do that, right? They really talk with
It's all due diligence,
yeah,
right?
that's the data room, right? Where they even look at the LOI, letter of interest, and look at, what is that actually, what's the wording on that? So they really do their due diligence of determining what's real and what's little, shenanigan, right?
So a lot of people say like founders, they're going to pivot right based on different things. But is there such thing as a founders pivoting too much?
No, if they can get that other pivot right and hit product market fit, I mean,
Okay.
if as long as they have enough runway, right? The biggest
Okay.
problem is they don't have time to pivot.
Yeah.
They run out of cash. Um, but I mean, there are many situations where the initial vision, they were spot on because they were the best founders in that space and they execute. I mean, there's so many different narratives, right? And it's survivor bias, so it's really hard to, you know, I think everybody's journey is different. And so, you know, um, that's where it comes to like finding founders with, you know, high grit and high intelligence where they can pivot around and be able to move to another. Because I backed this brilliant founder, late last year, and I hated his idea. I fucking hated it, but I liked him so much that I just knew he's gonna figure it out. I could be wrong, but like I literally told him I hate this idea. Like I feel like everybody and the grandmother's doing this
It
idea.
was an
Like,
AI based idea.
yeah, it was I'm not gonna say the name.
Yeah.
And but I just I just feel like, and he was like a superstar. Like he's built multiple companies, best-selling author in different technical domains. Um, and so, um, and so there, and it was a pre-seed round. So there, you're just betting on the founder. I don't even think maybe he's going to execute on this initial idea that he shared in the deck, but I have a strong feeling that he's going to completely find a different area to build on. And he's raised a significant amount of money, so he has runway. He has a lot of runway. Um, and he's also independently fairly wealthy. So like that was interesting too, because if he's independently fairly,
Yeah.
he's done
Okay.
well off. He's there to fucking like build something big versus like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this. I got to go work at Google and make $1 million. He can make $1 million at Google,
Well,
right?
if he's
He's like,
independent wealthy, obviously
and
doesn't
then he can,
invest his own money in it
yeah.
instead of getting
And so he has
investors.
a runway. So I feel like, so those were the factors that even though I hated the idea, you know, I'd say to, make a bet, right? I make these small bets
Yeah.
and then hopefully a good flop. Like the poker term is perfect for investors, right? Like I love poker. It's like, all right, I'll throw in my big blind or, the small blind. I'll see what the flop looks like, right? And then that's going to be based on the hands or the starting hand of the
Yeah.
founding team, right? And then based on that, that's where you get your pro rata, it's the
But
hands
yeah.
are matching up
Yeah.
where it's going to scale and then you can put in a little more chips.
Yeah.
So it's a good terminology. Like a lot of angel investors love, or VCs love poker because it's like very similar
Mhm.
from a psychological standpoint.
So your demographic, your vertical is AI.
I mean, yeah, I mean, AI is saying so
I know
general.
I know it's so broad, but
Yeah.
is there a non AI vertical you might invest in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Like what's some other vertical you might be interested in investing in?
I invested in like, uh, back in 2016, Madison Reed, a hair coloring kit for women, right? They're having explosive growth just based on some of the early, and that was not a C bet, that was like a Series A bet. Um, Element, I love the drink, and I made a small bet on them. And they're, I'm helping a founder here in Seattle with potential seed raise for mushroom coffee. Uh, I'm a big fan of our product, so I just try to help where I can if it's like a, and then they have a lot of traction already. So I know that the product has uh, potential, given that the market's really like they have like a few million sales.
So I'm sure you get like a
Yeah.
lot of cold emails, cold outreach.
Yeah.
What can a founder like put on the cold email like make you want to open the email? Like is like
I
a
mean, I look at everything, but usually, they want to just share like, the credible, how credible they are. Also, social proof matters, right? If you say, hey, this other super angel invested in us, right? Like, Jeff Bezos invested in us,
yeah.
right? Those things matter. Or like we were in Y Combinator,
Mhm.
right? Those type of like labels
Mhm.
matter. So if you can put, if you can highlight, some of those labels that might be attractive is important. Or you can say, hey, we already have like 500K in orders,
Yeah.
right? Those type of like either
Okay.
the traction, data points, the social proof, right? Or some of the advisors and investors that are, that I would know. And then also the team, like, hey, we're ex, like, ex AI ML scientists at Google Brain or something, right? I mean, that team, you know what I mean? Those things
Yeah.
really,
Yes. Does soft traction matter? Like, suppose someone emails you and say, we have like, I don't know, um, we've done 100 beta tests, 25 letter, 35 letters of intent. We have 50,000 followers on our newsletter, blah, blah, but we only have like limited sales. Does that matter? Or is it,
yeah. I mean, a lot of the open source that way, like there's people that we invested in that just have massive traction in terms of just users, but no revenue. I mean, look at Meta initially, right? Like it depends on your business model, right?
yeah.
Like there's some, like, a lot of open source companies where they're not going to monetize for years. They're just trying to, you know, become that popular open source uh company for that specific use case, and then they'll start monetizing when it becomes massively adopted. So it depends on their on the on the business model, the business
Okay.
uh
Yes.
the use case.
Have you ever thought about like starting your own incubator or accelerator?
No.
No, no.
I mean, I know, like, a lot of companies who are doing venture studios and things like that. I think I've had this discussion with the managing partner of one of the biggest venture funds out here. Yeah, I don't want to get into too much into it because there's a lot of great, Maduro Labs, Pioneer Square Labs that are, doing good things. But maybe, I mean, I never say never. I mean, I just don't have the bandwidth right now. I have
Yeah,
a full time, you know.
yeah. So
So
what would have happened for you, like, to quit your full-time job and do like investments like full-time? What would have to happen?
liquidity,
Liquidity, okay. You
yeah,
had to hit a couple
liquidity,
home runs, so to speak.
yeah. I mean, I have a lot of really good things on paper, but who the f cares? Right?
Yeah.
Look what happened to WeWork,
Mhm.
Convoy, millions of other companies out there, right? So, uh, Um, but yeah, definitely liquidity but again, this is a passion I'll be doing for the rest of my life. It's just intellectually very interesting for me. It's like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, right? They just love the game. So I also love my job. Like, in AI, I get to work with the most brilliant, AI practitioners, and I throw these great AI leaders and builders, meet up some dinners with, scientists from like Microsoft and Amazon and investors who are in the space, and be able to uh, enjoy that type of tribe, right? So I really enjoy my role working in AI as an operator.
So it's safe to presume that you're not going to retire at 65. You're going to keep on going like a Warren Buffett does until
Yeah,
like, you
absolutely.
know,
I don't think I'm going to retire. I mean,
yeah,
like, I'm going to run. My other mission is to get MVP to over 1B plus in AUM. Right? So that's so far off from that. And time is a compound interest, and time is the number one factor, right?
yeah,
I think Warren Buffett made most of his, like, 90% of his wealth after 65 or
hmm,
something.
yeah.
Um, And so, that whole compound interest, like, it's magic, but you need a lot of time. So, I think it will get there if I keep it up until 100 years old, you know, um, but I might be doing bigger deals then, right? Where
Yeah,
it's much easier to get to that number, right? If I yeah, I'm even interested in private equity stuff, right? Private equity, I have a friend who's very, doing really well in private equity. And these are big deals, buying 50, 60, 100 million companies. And then, if you grow them, and they can easily be overnight for one deal, right? And then a lot of times he doesn't even use his own money. Like, he has some investor money, some money, but he uses bank money because it's actually existing cash
yeah.
flow. So I'm open-minded to that, right? It's a, there's going to be a early stage, pre-seed, seed. There's going to be growth stage, real estate, and I see PE. Like, I want a balanced portfolio because I think all that stuff is fun. You know, uh, uh, to really, like, explore.
You got like a vision board that you use, like, like do different paths. So you want like your career, one part of the vision board might be like, number one, invest in AI. Another part of the vision board might be, like,
Uh-huh.
invest in this, or another vision part of
Uh-huh.
the vision board, like, be a better, family man. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I used to. I actually have sort of like I have a bunch of books of people who I really admire, like, in front, that I kind of use as, like, my, motivation of, like, who I want to become. Like, I mean, I even have, like, a magazine of, like, Kobe Bryant, right? Like, I love his grit and passion, and then I have, a bunch of autobiographies, right, from, like, Benjamin Franklin to, like, to even Marcus Aurelius is on there, to Peter Peterson, who was a former founder of Blackstone, yeah, who passed away. And like I love these autobiographies, right? And so like those are some of the people that I really loved. You know, I read a lot of I used to read a lot of autobiographies. So, you know, I would have a wall of them, right? Kind of as a sort of a vision board inspiration, you know.
I didn't saw you just. Did you see the video? It was the Lakers are just from the NBA championship, and they were playing the Olympics that summer, right? And so Paul Gasol was on the Spain team, and it was Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, those different players. And Kobe Bryant said, "I know they were in the first play. I'm running through Paul Gasol's fucking chest." Every one of the players like, "Ain't no fucking way. That's your team. You're not doing that." First play, they set a screen. Kobe Bryant
Yeah, I saw that video.
ran the fuck over,
Savage.
yeah,
Passion.
you're my
Yeah.
guy, but fucking winning is the most important thing. And like you said,
Yeah.
so many people don't have that
They
commitment.
don't have that, and a lot of it, that grit, again, I think it's genetics. I mean, that's where I say this free will, like it's nature and nurture, right? I mean, some people have that killer instinct. Uh, some people don't, and it's fine, right? Like everybody's born with different talents and skill sets, and they have different areas that they can excel at. Being an amazing father, being an amazing parent, being an amazing politician. I mean, yeah. Um, but yeah, it just depends. Kobe was you know, he was known for his incredible work ethic
Yeah.
and grit. And I mean, he passed away way too early. He was also a
That was a
very
fucking shock.
successful
That was a shock. Yeah.
investor. He was actually wanted to be a venture capitalist.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a couple of deals that he invested in, I believe, through his fund.
And did you hear what Kobe Bryant did after they won the U.S. won the Olympics?
No.
So they win the gold medal over Spain. Fast forward to like the Lakers training camp.
Yeah.
Kobe put his fucking Olympic gold medal in Paul Gasol's locker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Like, damn, fucking savage.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, some people are just born with that type of super high.
Do you think that can be
Competitive.
learned? Do you think someone can be like kind of lethargic, kind of
No.
lazy, and then like,
I mean, I could be wrong.
And at 30, like turn it on like that?
Like I said, I believe this is where I believe people don't change.
Yeah.
Like,
Unfortunately, yeah.
unfortunately,
I agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, I believe that people, and I try to change every day. Like, you know, my mental and physical transformation is a mission of mine every day. So I always try to be open-minded to learn and grow new things and keep a very open mind. Like I would, you know, you can convince me on some conspiracy theory. I'll be open-minded for you to give me the data for me to change your mind. Like you can even try to convince me that the earth is flat and I'll listen.
Yeah.
I have friends who are flat earthers.
But you have the side eye still like, yeah.
I will listen. Yeah, I will, but I'll try to look at the data and see if there's something interesting of substance, but I will actually consider any theory as long as you genuinely believe it and you aren't fucking crazy. Like I don't want you to be like mentally deranged and start spitting a bunch of bullshit. But if you have some conviction and you have some type of like logical like data points, I will ingest that and see if you know I can see your perspective.
Yeah.
And so especially even from a political front, right? Like I see all these crazy Trump's, you know, people who love Trump, people who Democrat. I hate this. I feel like I wish we can start understanding their point of view, right? And having a lot of empathy and saying, okay, and then unite. Like, I think, you know, people are like not open to people's other ideas and perspectives because of these fucking labels. Like, oh, I'm a Democrat, you're Republican. It's like, who the fuck cares? We're just, you know, we're human, you know, we're Homo sapiens on this rock spinning, you know, hundreds of miles.
And you're right. We're a fucking rock spinning the fucking pin of nowhere.
And we're like arguing about like these little labels, right?
Yeah. I saw this somewhere where like
kind of really makes me upset.
Yeah, I think the West Side I think there's a Voyager was out there, and someone I can't remember someone asked NASA, can you turn the Voyager around and take a picture of Earth? They took a picture of Earth, and like you can't even tell what Earth is, right? It's like a little speck and all these little rocks and stuff. You're like, yeah. So
yeah, and the flat Earth say that's all made up, right?
The moon landing didn't exist, you know. It's I don't know.
But yeah, then there's a lot of interesting simulation theory that moon doesn't exist without looking at it, so everything's just a simulation. So
yeah,
we renders as we see it. So you know, there's actually a lot of interesting math and stuff that actually can even prove that. If you ever spend time, go on Donald Hoffman. He has a good TED talk on Case Against Reality. Very convincing. I listened to hours and hours of his. I even bought his book. Very interesting. Again, like he's a very credible guy. You know, he studied under, you know, he's I think a physics major and PhD. Studied under what you know a lot of the, at MIT, and now he's a professor at from UC school. But he made a very interesting. he's the one that really got me to consider the simulation theory. Is Donald Hoffman. He's
Okay.
really good,
Have to look
really
him up.
interesting guy.
And do you already talk about, don't you do like a monthly AI meetup?
Yeah, so with Great Coquilo, it's been a little bit on hold because I've been doing other private dinners, so that's sponsored by prominent venture capitalists. So we're doing more like curated events. Like sometimes I feel like when you get all these people kind of come in, it's really hard to, and
As
they're
a
all they're
focus you
all
want.
different journeys in their AI ML practice. So you might have like a, for example, a Y Combinator guy that just landed money, and then another, student that is considering AI, and then it's just sometimes the conversation is not, or you have somebody that shows up who's inspiring to be an AI/ML. They might be a product manager at Amazon, but not really involved in any type of AML. So we wanted to sort of curate a kind of a theme-based group where you can nerd out on specific topics. So I love those. Like for example, those meetups, like Tim Ferriss meetup. I went up there. I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan. You know who he is?
Yeah, yeah. I had his book,
Yeah,
uh,
he's
Tools of Titans. That's
Tools
a
of
really good book.
Titans,
Yeah, that's a
for
really good
everybody.
book.
So
Yeah.
so me and Tim were actually clubbing buddies back in early 2000s.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we used to bar hop together.
Yeah.
We're famous. So I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss. There was also All In podcast meetups. I like those meetups, where, you know, you're there because you are a tribe of their content. So there's a lot to really discuss, right? And so for these AI events, the last one was like, auto agents, and it was specifically for people who are AI scientists, AI product manager leaders who are actually really building AI into production.
So
So
for your events, you have to be like invited to
yeah,
attend these
these are
events.
my events.
Okay, these like
But then we're
you
gonna do some
personally invite.
general
Okay.
happy hour stuff. And then luckily we got some sponsors who want to sponsor those events. We have one coming up on June 20th, um, in Capitol Hill. So we're
And
gonna be.
when you do these events, what's your intent? Is like just to put on a great event, like put smart people together. Like, is there anything you personally want to get out of it? Like,
Yeah, the intent is just to you know I mean the intent is fun for me, right? To talk about ML and also getting the community together, and meeting interesting people, right? Whether you know uh, to join team or invest or whatever, right? Or even at Centific, like there might be opportunities where we can be helpful. So there's there's many different fronts of getting like-minded people in a room and seeing if there's a mutual beneficial collaboration opportunity, right?
is there any like a upcoming AI person in Seattle that people should know about? Like either or the data scientist or someone building a
Uh
great product or like I know it's like probably dozens of people to choose from.
yeah, I mean I can't really, yeah. I mean there's so many talented people, and the AI is just changing all the time. And again, um the interesting people doing work in AI is like they have a unique data mode, and they're or they have some type of a unique um uh data mode where they can build some very interesting AI applications. So I've met a lot of interesting people in the space who, based on having access to that, and that's why all the mega techs are winning the AI wars, right? Because they have the capital
Yeah.
compute, they have a lot of the data.
Is there such thing as like the birth date of AI?
Birthday,
Yeah, birth like when it started.
I mean, it's probably from Hinton guy. I don't know, a long time ago from Charles. I mean, I don't know. That term was definitely coined someday. I don't know. It was a long time ago, but you can probably Google it. Um, Forgot that gentleman's name, but yeah, it was probably in the 40s or 50s or 60s.
Okay, but still relatively new. Even though it's 40s, 50s, that's still relatively new. Like if you go to the history of mankind, that's still pretty new, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the history of mankind, history of mankind's only been what 150, 200,000 years, which is mind blowing. That's
Yeah, I
nothing.
think we're somewhere like if human history is on a. If you put a human history on the calendar of all time. We're like start like noon on December
Yeah,
thirty
it's like a
first
fingernail.
century.
So it's like I think the planet in theory came to 5 billion years ago or
Hmm.
something,
Yeah,
the Earth, and then Homo sapiens, all that whatever the was like 200 something years ago.
I
So
mean, yeah, that sounds right.
it's quite in theory, right? Again, if you
In
believe in
theory, yeah,
simulation theory,
yeah.
whatever, or you're,
Or if
different
you know,
religion,
yeah,
you believe like Christians believe
it's
like
only
that,
6,000
like
years.
6,000 years old,
Yeah,
right? So I mean, hey, I don't know. I mean, look at the data and whatever data, and then again, people will manipulate the data based on weighing the data, right? Like
mhm,
the Bible says this, so that's the ground truth, right? So to each their own. I
yeah.
mean, I don't really. I think one thing I realize in life is like people genuinely want the truth, and you can't really argue what their truth is because they're not ready for it. Maybe you can kind of sort of give a suggestion, but people, it will fuck up their whole paradigm of
Yeah,
living,
that's
right?
right. A lot of people are in their paradigm, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The
And if it's
paradigm bubble, what you want to call it, right?
yeah, that you spend. So, I mean, whatever serves them to be happy and productive citizen of the species, you can fucking believe in the Easter Bunny or whatever is this, and if you're happy and good person, whatever you believe, right? So, um, yeah, I never get into debates about any of that stuff. I throw out there if they're open-minded
Hmm.
because I don't even know, right? I
Yeah,
have, if you were saying, so what would you choose now? So obviously I'll choose science of like, the
yeah.
whole, but the simulation theory is super interesting, right? Like from reading Donald Hoffman stuff. And the other thing is super interesting, but again, they're just interesting, uh, um, you know, thought experiments, right? That
Yeah, okay.
I don't really like hold anything really that
Yeah, for me, I think, yeah,
tight.
I think for you, like, suppose you're doing a debate, like, you should be able to debate either side, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I can
like,
debate either side,
yeah, I could
for
debate the
fun.
Bible's real, or I could debate the Bible's not real, right? I think
Yeah,
I have to be able to like debate both sides and have more open
yeah,
mind, just stuff, you know.
yeah. I would be curious how you're going to debate the Bible is real. I mean, the Bible is real. I mean, what do you define as real? Like,
Yeah,
Bible is
did it
real,
really happen, or was just
but
a,
is
or is it was
all
a,
the data in the Bible
yeah.
actually happen and is like everything they say is actually like factual true? There's actually a lot of factual truth
Or
to
is
it,
this
right?
a book of fables, the greatest stories ever told?
Yeah,
You
in
know,
fair, yeah. So
so there's
it
some
just depends
fucking
on what
good ass stories
you
in there.
mean by real truth, and this is where language is
That's the
restricted,
other thing too.
limited,
Yeah,
right?
like
Like we don't we my one of my favorite quotes is the beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms from Socrates, and I love that because you can be arguing about something, but you're defining the term differently. So it's really important to really like free will. Like people get totally like you know like super like, oh, of course I have free will. Blah, blah. It's like let's define free will, right? Like this is my definition. Then this define what's the opposite of free will. Like opposite free will is like deterministic, meaning like from the Big Bang, and then Einstein believed that like that literally is everything's predetermined. There's nothing you can do from the Big Bang. We're all physics particles, working, on a certain frequency, right? That's like the and that's a lot of people believe that. A lot of neuroscientists, physicists, the smartest people on the fucking planet don't believe that free will is sort of illusion. But then again, it's how do you define free will? But then there's also the most brilliant physicists, scientists who are strong Christians too. I mean,
that's like paradox, right?
yeah, it's mind blowing. There's a podcast called Closer to the Truth. I used to listen to all the time, and they had a theologian slash brilliant mathematician physicist, um, who's also Christian. I mean, again, Christian. If you look at the history of Christianity, it's actually a beautiful thing, depending on all the wars and stuff that's bad. But like it brought people together, give hope to the poor, right? So there's that tribalism, that society that was, helped, grow through that Christian tribe, right? So it kind of served us. It gives us the fucking United States, right? So, you know, um, so there's good things about religion, and obviously the bad part is just this fighting against this religion is true and you're going to hell, like Muslim, Christian, whatever, right? I that's why I love Buddhism. If I could pick any religion, it'd probably be Buddhism. I'm not religious in any way, but Buddhism seems to be more non, I guess, confrontational to other religions. They seem to be more accepting.
Yeah. So here's like a big decision point, right? I don't think people realize this. So way back the day, Emperor Constantine, who's fighting a civil war, he was going to battle against this like people fighting against. He was outnumbered. He should have lost, right?
Uh-huh.
And supposedly the story is in the sky was a sign of the cross, and the voice said, "With this conquer," right? So
Uh-huh.
Constantine took. I actually have a tattoo on my body
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
Took this cross, put all the shields. They won the battle, right? And then Constantine, quote unquote, converted to Christianity,
Yeah.
and that's how Christianity came, right? Of course, other stories will say, "Well, no, it's only did political expedient." Well, no, because all the Roman soldiers said the same thing. Of course, they can say the fucking same thing. They don't
Uh-huh.
want to die. And then, the thing is they combine like, like the sun holiday with the birth of Christ, which claims Christmas, like combine like all the holidays together, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that, right? And if he would have just said like, odds are he probably made the story up, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Odds he made the story up, right? To kind of combine the people behind him, right? And just, not no one knows the truth. I don't think, right?
Yeah,
That's a great
especially
story, though.
yeah. I mean, especially I mean, I think it'd be fun to study like something. If I had more time, I would study a lot of history because I find history is stranger than fiction. They say, right? Very fascinating. I have just I have so much only have so much time in day.
Mhm.
I've been sort of focusing on areas that will serve my mission,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, you got to decide to focus.
yeah,
Yeah,
but if I had more free time, like if I was like, you know, done with all my whatever financial obligations, I'll probably study a lot of philosophy, history. Um, yeah, those are very fascinating, right? It's like mind blowing, right? If you read some of the history, it's like that shit really happened.
yeah, it's some crazy,
It's like,
especially Roman history, the shit they did back in the
yeah.
day. I mean,
So
any.
that's fascinating for me. Like I was watching a documentary on samurais in Japan. Oh my gosh, it's called the Age of the Samurai in Netflix. Have you seen it? You should watch it.
Okay.
It's fucking mind blowing, right? Like this this country who is now all about Hello Kitties and electronics are fucking savages, right? The samurais were the savages,
Yeah, the
and
samurais are
how
probably
they
turning over the grave right now.
yeah. But that was a very fascinating history that I didn't really, you know, that was really good documentary. But I can watch those all day, all night, like even different, areas. It's really fascinating how, people in those days
Yeah, we don't
live.
realize how savage we used to be.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
not saying that TikTok's the place you get a history from.
yeah.
There's a TikTok video, it's like a history one, and supposedly, um, the daughter of Genghis Khan,
Yeah.
fiance got killed by a man in the city, right? So as punishment, she asked her father Genghis Khan to kill everyone in the city. So he went and he hit up 1.7 million people in like 10 days.
Is that true?
I don't know.
I mean, it sounds
It
true.
sounds true as fuck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds something
Yeah.
Genghis Khan would do. I mean, but if it's true or not, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, TikTok's probably not the best place to get your history lesson from, but
Yeah. There are, I mean, I believe it. I mean, there's a lot of
people don't
real
realize how savage
savages.
you used to be back in the day. Even like 100 years ago, right? The Wild
Yeah.
Wild West, just,
I mean, I was watching some Joe Rogan podcast on history and said we're all just sons and daughters of rapists and murderers, right?
yeah.
Think about um, the history of mankind. If you actually, I probably, I'm a son of a Genghis Khan, right? Like I have Genghis Khan blood in me,
Yeah.
right? And so he
I
was,
think they say like one of every people are alive now, dude.
yeah, something like that. I mean, he can, I mean, we're all related somewhere back in theory, right? Unless you believe in the simulation theory
I mean,
or the,
when you think about all of us somewhere down the line
original.
have the same great, 10th generation grandparents some kind of way, right?
Yeah,
You go back far enough in time.
yeah.
So you still got to leave it a couple at the 3 o'clock. You consider,
I can go a little longer.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Um, yeah, it's like amazing. Like there's so many like scientists who are like atheists. A few of us, few of them are like believe in God. Like it is kind of
So
funny
what is
because it is.
God though? Like, how do you define God, right? Like, I think a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
scientists are
Right.
actually very spiritual
Mhm.
because
I think a lot
like
of people believe
quantum
that some
mechanics, and
creative.
if
Yeah,
if you like understand like how miraculous the human body and how miraculous things have to happen, there must be some higher power, higher God. But that even Einstein believed in some. He said God to him was just this universal, like I got his quote, but he was very spiritual because he knew that there has to be some
I mean,
higher.
yeah, you're right. Somehow,
I mean, he didn't believe in some, Jesus was a savior
yeah.
or, Muhammad was, I mean, but like he had his own, he believed in something much higher. So he was very, very spiritual in a
I
way.
mean,
A lot of scientists are that way.
stuff works, right? Our
Yeah.
human body works.
Yeah.
All the stuff.
I mean, that's miraculous. There has to be
Yeah,
some God that,
yeah. Like,
made this all.
but then
But what is
again,
God,
but
right?
then again, I think argument people are like, if there's a God, why do we have cancer? Why do you have like these diseases, right? If there's a
Yeah.
perfect God, how can you make the perfect body? And of course, Chris will say, well, because original sin fucked it all up,
Yeah. Yeah.
all these theories, but yeah.
Yeah. But
But the fact that all that like so all this stuff works, right? Physics is lined up perfectly. Yeah, like the moon's 1 inch off. The should be fucked up, Everything works
yeah, there's a
good
lot
enough.
of, there's
Everything
so,
works good enough.
yeah, there's amazing order to this universe, right? And it's like, that can be mapped out through equations and math, that this unbelievable structure and order is like, it's like the argument that there's some you know god. But again, it could just be billions and years of evolution and how all the magnetic stuff and atoms and everything is just it's all the laws of physics that has made all this structure possible given
And
different
just like
elements of the world.
Back to Northern Lights,
elements of
right?
it. Mhm.
Okay, everyone saw them over the like last 2 weekends. They were, oh, great things they are. They're so beautiful. Go back one time, 2,000 years, and those people seeing the Northern Lights. They were like freaked out, like the gods are coming to us. We know
Yeah, it's like an
we
omen
need to
or
sacrifice of virgins, like
yeah,
because they have no frame of reference, right?
yeah,
Now it's like understanding science, all that kind of stuff, No, oh, great, no big deal, Even 1,000 years ago, the war's coming to end.
yeah. That's where, science and everything is helpful to basically demystify some of these natural phenomena, right? Versus it's happened from some act of God, whether they're happy or not. So that's why I really believe that, I love, people who are moving the needle in science and, explaining some of these interesting, basically trying to give us clarity on how everything works, right? From the physical world, right? So
So, you're a big science guy,
I wouldn't say I'm a big science guy. I'm actually lately been a big kind of neuroscience guy in
neuroscience.
terms of like trying to understand how, you know, and there's a lot of parallel between neuroscience and AI. Like ultimately the holy grail is creating AI models that can be as good as a human brain, right? Because the human brain is quite miraculous, like 86 billion neurons, but the voltage is only like a light bulb, right? So that's like miraculous in a way. It's like mind-blowing miraculous. It's like a supercomputer that is very low electricity voltage to run and operate, right? And so ultimately, like AI scientists are trying to study the brain, right, to be able to develop a AGI or something, as sophisticated as that.
So with the Neuralink, I have no idea how it works, but the Neuralink, would it be
Me neither.
possible? Would it be possible, like, just nerding out, like you go to somewhere, say, I want to get the Neuralink. And the Neuralink I want to be like based on history, AI, and learning how to farm apples, right? And take that Neuralink and put in your
It's like
brain,
Matrix.
and instantly have all that knowledge in there.
It's like Matrix. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked into all the how it works to comment. I mean, theoretically, I mean, that's not very hard to do, right? Like, I mean, like you have all that information here, but it's the bandwidth is very slow. So if you can actually, but again, um, I don't know. I mean, it's in theory, like what I understand from watching limited stuff on Elon's trying to lower this latency or bandwidth factor through a Neuralink. So if he accomplishes that, it's like anything. It's like literally having a computer.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that stuff is a very easy use case. Like he's solving very difficult use cases, right? People who can't, can only move their eyes, and then they
Yeah.
can, do
But the
all
guy
the
who has it now,
circuitry.
he's like he's doing all that stuff, right?
Yeah, which is fascinating. Like I need to
I
spend some time and kind of
yeah.
reading up on that
So,
or watching.
Elon Musk figures out how to get to Mars. He sends an email. Hey Ken, I need a guy like you on my first.
Fuck no, hell no. Why the fuck would I want to go to Mars? I mean, have you seen Martian? It's a
Yeah.
I'd rather be in Maui or
Yeah.
like in this planet. I
And
mean, this is something that I actually don't understand. Like I understand the big picture of like if the human species, with global warming, if that happens, right? And then this world you know, deteriorates and is not inhabitable, then yeah, you want a plan B,
yeah.
right? But I think Jeff Bezos even said one time, like, this Mars stuff is stupid. Just create a great, nice space station up in the sky,
Yeah.
right? Because, but then Elon would say you would do put like a nuke up into the atmosphere so you can make it more like, so, it depends. Like if he makes it beautiful like
Yeah.
Earth, but if it's in its current state, why the hell would I want to go to Mars?
Where's
Unless I know Earth is like going to be dead and then I'll consider it, but it's not
your
right
adventure,
now.
Ken? Your sense of adventure. Go,
No,
go,
hell no.
go there for 2 years. Stay
No,
away from
fuck
your
no.
family.
No, no, no.
Potential
I
to
have
die.
zero interest for that. I'd rather take a flight to freaking Maui. I'd rather take a flight to like, Spain, Barcelona.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so, I mean, at the state, I mean, would you go? Would you go?
No, I wouldn't
No.
go. Maybe on the 15th or 20th flight, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, again,
What's a flight?
give me,
Yeah.
what's the circumstance? Like, Earth's
Yeah.
going to be dead in a year.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course I go. Like,
Yeah.
or no, we'll go there and we'll, like what's the sales pitch? The current sales pitch, you just want to go there and fly at this current, like, hell
Yeah.
no, right? It's
I'll tell
gonna,
you right now, the travel time is 2 years based on all those math and movies
yeah.
and stuff. They
And
get
then,
down maybe a month,
And then
maybe.
even if you make it, like there's a lot of things that could go wrong, right? Like
So many
so
things.
maybe I might even higher percentage of me consider it after they do mini trips. So I know like they've actually worked out all the potential issues that could happen going on that long flight. I mean, it's not even been. I don't even know when Elon can accomplish actual. I mean, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah. So this one thing I think is gonna happen soon, like maybe 10 years. I think it'll
I
be.
don't know.
I think we're gonna have like space hotels in space, right, where people go to outer space, like a kind of like a cruise ship in the ocean.
That's what I think would be nice, like a huge space resort.
Yeah, that's what I
right?
think is gonna happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe 10 years. And so this is something else I believe too, right? This is like really like fucking fantasy shit, right? Do you know how you have dreams?
Oh, I have dreams every night.
I think you.
Do you dream every night?
Yeah, I think.
Do you remember your dreams?
Sometimes, but I think when you have a dream, that's another version of you somewhere else trying to tell you something. So there's all these versions of you somewhere, and that dream is like a part of their story.
Do you believe that?
I do.
So,
like for example, suppose you have a dream like with no reference. Like, you might dream that you went to vacation on Maui with your family, and then something happened, right? Like all the time you have dreams that it's like this didn't happen, right? But in your dream is it's reality, right?
yeah,
Like
at that time with fascinating dreams, no matter how crazy it is, you believe it's real.
Yeah.
Unless you do what you call what's that where you're dreaming? It's called it's a term where you're dreaming. You know
I know
that?
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that's like your other version of yourself communicating with you, or like trying to tell you, hey, this is what's going on over here. Of course, I have no proof of that, like
It's subconscious stuff. Like I actually Huberman had somebody on Dreams with the guy. There's a sleep. Remember that sleep guy that talks about why he's a sleep doctor.
Yeah.
So Huberman, Joe Rogan. Yeah, I watched him. It's very interesting. So dreams is actually good. When you dream, it's actually therapy in a way. Like you release a lot of these subconscious anxiety, angst through dream and with this. So it's actually when bad things happen to dream, it's actually good. You kind of release that. It's like, oh, I'm alive.
Yeah.
So I really love that because I sometimes have really bad dreams. Um, so and when I have that really bad dream, it's kind of therapy where you kind of let it out and you're still alive. Even if like somebody's trying to kill you, like I've had dreams where you're running and you can't run and like, these nightmares.
I have a dream like that. So when I was a little kid, I watched this scary movie, right? And like these demons came to the windows, all this kind of stuff, right? And so I went to sleep that night, and
Matthew Walker,
his
name. You should watch his podcast.
And in my dream,
Why you sleep?
This demon came through the fucking window, right? To this day, you can't tell me. Right? I just have this dream once in a while where this fucking demon comes to the window and tries to get me, right?
And we all have those type of, dreams, nightmares. Yeah. We all do. It just, I think every person does.
And one thing I don't think people realize, I think a lot of people think like they go to sleep, the brain like rests. The brain is still actually
very
operating the same high level activity, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a neuroscientist. I just like to, read about it. But yeah, Matthew Walker is somebody you should listen to. He talks about why we dream. So I actually dream every night, and I remember some parts of my dreams, which is rare. I think when I ask people and do like a survey, most people don't remember the dreams.
If I had a guess, I think I remember like 15-20% of my dreams.
Yeah,
I do a rough guess.
So I dream. So that's like my superpower. I sleep well. I think because I'm very active.
How many hours of sleep you got to get a night?
I probably average 7 to 8 hours, which is what I go for. Not average. Most people don't sleep. They say the average Americans are like 6 something.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's hard. Yeah. You want to get 70 hours of sleep unless you have this interesting gene where you don't need to.
Yeah, I have a friend, like one of my best friends, Kyoki Brothers. Known him since I was in the Army in 1920. To this day, he only needs 4 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah, there's some people with that genetic gene. Very rare, but if he has it, I wish I kind of had it. Like
I do too.
I wish I didn't need to sleep. Then I can,
with
work on my hobbies.
I need like 7 hours of sleep a night. If I go like 3 or 4 days in a row, like 4 or 5, I can operate, but I definitely like degrade. And for me, if I sleep like 9 or more, it's the same as me not getting enough sleep. If I sleep 9 or more, I'm like, it's as bad as not to get enough sleep for me. Yeah,
sleeping for me is one of my favorite hobbies. Like I really love sleep. I also like taking naps.
You take power naps in the afternoon?
I can take power naps. Yeah, if I have time.
I think those are the best things.
Cleanse all the toxins. And Matt Walker talks about that too. I'm trying to think about that dream where you're dreaming and you can act like Superman and fly. You know what it's called? It's called
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't think.
Yeah, I get a few of those, maybe once or twice a year.
You ever like have a dream, then wake up and like shit, it's a good dream. Then you go back to sleep and try to get back in the dream.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Like winning some lottery or like Remember, I was at a casino sometime, won the jackpot. Right? Going to celebrate, get bottle service at some encore or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, damn it.
So what advice you have for founders? I mean, like, and they can like, it's kind of like a broad scope, like early stage founders, someone thinking of an idea,
Hmm.
like any advice.
I mean, the best advice, I mean, a lot of the, just validate it through, customer, prospect, discussions, right? Validate whether it's something that you want to spend 5, 10 years in life on, because, I mean, because you don't want to go all in on something that you haven't validated, right? So another one that I always like to say for founders is like, take care of your mental, physical health. Like, you know, get your sleep in, exercise, avoid alcohol as much as possible. I love alcohol. Like, me, like I enjoy whiskey. I enjoy cigars. I enjoy
The fact that
wine.
he's not drinking bourbon is just fucking blowing my mind right
Yeah,
now.
because I did 75 hard. Actually, uh, I remember Byron mentioned that he was on it, and he was like, "You're too weak to do it." And I'm like, I don't even want to fucking do fucking 75. I love going out and enjoying my wine and beer, but I just decided to do it, and I went 90 days without alcohol. I slipped up once because some guy gave me an NA beer that I told him it was NA. It was actually in San Jose, and it was a regular beer, but I just basically I couldn't tell the difference. Um, but yeah, the mental physical performance I get from not drinking is like a game changer. So now even though I finished the same hard, like I literally lost the desire to drink. Before, for me, like my life was around partying. Like I probably party more than 100 average men in the US. Like, in my 20s and 30s, dude, like I could literally start 4 o'clock and go to like 6 a.m.
Yeah, you told me some of the
Like,
stories
yeah, it's
before.
insane. Like, because so I actually have the alcoholic gene.
Yeah,
So
maybe you tell me that.
it
Yeah.
affects 5% of the population, and Huberman talks about it. So alcohol for most people, if you get 2 or 3 drinks, it gives you a little buzz, pretty good, and then you get you tired, right? For me, like if I drink alcohol, like it's like strong Red Bull, and I can like literally like it just like I feel great, I feel more energetic, like I can take a shot of tequila and just I can go all night, right? Um, Luckily, I didn't have that dependency where I was able to just turn it on and off like when I go out on weekends and stuff. But yeah, I just had a crazy tolerance, and some days I will do it, but as a neuroscience guy, like I study it, it's not fucking good for you. I wish it was. Like it's not. I trust me. I was trying to look at all this argument that some drinking is good for you. Drinking is actually good for you in the social element, and like if I celebrate a deal or celebrate a big win, like celebrating over wine, and I'm gonna do that, right? But I'm also a biohacker, meaning like as a guy that studies the human brain and health, you know, I just feel no too much, right? Like I can still enjoy this, but it's like I know too much. Like there was a one time in my life I was kind of a gambling addict, right? Where I would go out to the casinos and play high stakes poker, and I was like, and then I started studying mathematics and understanding probability, and it totally ruined my love for gambling. Like I just like when I go to the casinos, like it's boring for me because I kind of know too much about the mathematics that it ruined the joy of like because I'm like I know I'm going to lose. Like there's the reason why Bellagio is like a multi-billion-dollar company. It's like and it's like for me to think that I can win is like and it's like statistically, mathematically, everything is just doesn't make any sense. So you got to be logical. Alcohol, same way, right? Like I studied looking the neuroscience of it. I got it first time when I went 90 days no alcohol. Like I just feel like amazing. Like if what I realized is I was basically hungover or partying for most of my life. So I would say as a founder, like take care of the mental physical health. And because you need it, right? And so I say that a lot. It's like, make sure you get your sleep, you know, that's another warning flag. If I meet a founder and I hate to say, it, but they're have a substance issue or like they can't, you know, they're going out way too much, not responsible. Like I know that's going to impact you know, their way of life or performance. And as an investor, I want them to be like fucking Olympic athletes. You know what I mean? Like super
Yeah.
like
Focus and driven.
focused and driven and
Kobe,
optimized.
like
Yeah, yeah.
Mamba
Like Kobe
mentality.
Bryant is not going out slamming, doing weed and doing lines of coke or whatever, drinking till midnight. He's focused on the mission.
And if he did, he's still gonna be at the fucking gym at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I believe it. He's a maniac on a mission. So you need that. And then, if you're hungover, you're not going to be a maniac on a mission. So so that's one thing, and I'm a maniac on mission too. So I don't really, it's lost its factor. It's weird, because again, I don't know anybody that enjoys libation more than me. I love it. Yeah, and I have a high tolerance for it. So I will again once in a while, you
Yeah.
know.
So you already talked about this some, but any advice to people who are looking to become investors, either angel investors or join a VC fund?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just having intellectual curiosity. If you're drawn to it from an intellectual curiosity perspective, and then you know the space you want to be helpful, like you should just dip your toes in. It doesn't take much, you know. Even be write a small check, you know. If you feel like you want to help these young founders, and you are you love their vision, and you see, like, given that you have some domain expertise, you see that they have an opportunity to execute based on gaps in the market. Like that's where maybe you can push your bet, because like, yeah, I see this, like, um this recent founder that I love, you know he there's a gap in the market that I saw, because I used to be in advertising, so I knew that a lot of the optimization for advertising, paid ads on Instagram, Amazon, made a lot of it's manual on Excel sheets. He's automated that leveraging AI. So and he's also done it at the highest level at all the mega techs, and then his co-founders were managing hundreds and hundreds of millions worth of ad budget. So I saw that, I knew it because I had some experience, and tossed some chips in, right?
So how do you do this? I definitely think we need to influence more people to become like angel investors, especially in Seattle, right?
I mean,
Like, how do you convince people, like,
I don't think you need to convince anybody, like, because um you shouldn't convince people to be angel investor, because angel investing is I mean, I guess you can, but like, it's tough. Like, I don't think there are VC money out there. I think angel investing is it's more of a, you know yeah, I could be wrong. I mean, there are people who are very high net worth, and you want them to support founders, right? So I take that back. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you convince them. You just kind of share the journey, and then they also have to be in that right uh mindset where they understand the domain, right? Like a lot of these smart investors, like, most people are very wary of investing in an area that they know nothing about, and they should be, right? So like for you, like, you should approach like people who understand HR, right?
HR
Well,
tech,
yeah.
B2B,
Yeah, people who understand the
VC?
space,
Yeah.
right?
Like, I'm wasting my time by
Not,
approach to like a consumer tech and B.
or some real estate guy, right? Like
Yeah.
I approach a lot of real estate guys, and they're really, and they just like, it just goes way over their head. Like I have a friend who's in private equity doing very well, and I bring him these starters, but he's like, I don't I can't, this makes no sense to me, right? There's no fucking earnings to, like, even like evaluate the
Yeah.
the deal, right? And so, and to them it's all about evaluating the earnings first, right?
Mhm.
And looking at the economics. So, so you can't convince anybody that they don't have the ability to really understand and be open to ingest. So you got to find people who may, based on the life experiences, and where their mental models have been built.
Yeah. So what's your
That makes
take on
sense.
this? I think some people will tell you only take an investment like the littlest amount you can, right? That's to meet your milestones, get the next step, right? I think other people say if someone gives you $10 million, take it, right? What's your take on that? You should take the minimum amount you can to stay scrappy, or take all the money you can to
It
have like.
it depends. It depends on, like, the valuation. It depends on what you need the capital for. It depends on the space you're in. Like, if you're trying to build a foundation LM, you need all the fucking money you need, because you need to buy NVIDIA chips, right? So it depends on the business model, and also depends on what the terms are, right? But yeah, there is this argument that if you raise too much money quickly, that you're going to be not steward of the money, and then you're going to run into trouble in terms of not growing to that valuation. So you're going to have a major down round, or a lot of the investors, so it'll be hard to raise after a big round. So I kind of see that. I kind of want the founder to be frugal with with as much minimum capital as possible, and then they also capital, and then at a fair valuation, versus raising a shitload at a like 100x multiple. Some people will live up to it. So like I said, like, it all depends. Like, it's hard to say what's right or wrong, because it depends on the business model. It depends on if the founding team, if they live up to the expectation, then hell yeah, it's a fucking great deal for the founders, right? They have less dilution, and then because they executed and met the expectations of that valuation, they went on to raise more. Like, that happens too. Like I know a company that fucking raised at 100x, and for sure I didn't think he would be able to go into that live with it, but he just raised at a much higher valuation. So that was like good move. You know what I mean?
So let's
So,
say,
but then there's a lot of examples where they're they're
yes,
basically bankrupt because they
yeah,
raised way too much money.
yeah.
They
They
burned
they
through that,
they
and
go buy
then
Ivory keyboards and
yeah,
pianos and all kind of
yeah, and
crazy
then there's a
shit.
lot of cases like
They
that.
start
So
flying first class.
yeah, so it just depends. It's just hard to say, but yeah, and again, based on the business model too, right? Sometimes if you need to raise a war chest to train your freaking foundational models, right? You're not going to win with small cash,
No, no.
so it
So
just
so
depends.
how do you do this? Like suppose there's a team you want to invest in, right? But their evaluation like totally fucking unrealistic, right? Like off the wall and
Oh,
unrealistic,
I
right?
get that a lot.
Do you like kind of coach them up or train them or do you just like, man, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm not gonna invest him because he's totally in the fantasy land.
Well, a lot of the stuff I do are safe notes anyways. So, they have a valuation cap with a discount. So, a lot of times they'll give a very high, cap. But I know it's a still safe note. So it will be priced when the VC comes in and actually does a price equity round. So I try to, I try to be, so basically based on safe note, there's more, but, valuations a lot of times is based on the market, right? So they were using market comps, like a Y Combinator founder, AI is going to raise at a much higher valuation than somebody going through like, a venture incubator here, right? It's just the way it is. So, it just depends on the situation, right? And if they're successful raising at that cap, God bless them. But if they're struggling, then you might want to say, hey, here's a feedback that I'm getting from those. I told them like the feedback is like the valuation is pretty high for this certain stage. Are you open to it? And they're usually open to it. Like, yeah, if someone writes a check and saying, I want 20 million cap, but hey, I will do it at like a 15 million cap, they're going to take the check mostly, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, give me an offer, right? It's good for them to start high. Um, but just saying, we are flexible, right? But again, that flexibility is going to be based upon all the demand. I had a founder that I wanted them going with a much lower cap, but they had so much interest. It's like, are you in or you're out, right? So, yeah.
So I don't think it's ever easy time to raise money if you're a founder, right? But it's like it's especially difficult right now. Do you think putting your crystal ball, do you think it's gonna be like this for the next few months, next year? Or you think
I mean, like, what's difficult, right? I mean, there's so many companies in Y Combinator and work in space where they're getting all these multiple term sheets.
but it's Y Combinator though, right? I
Yeah,
mean, pretty much
yeah,
you get to go Y
and there's
Combinator.
a lot of dry powder out
You
there.
pretty much
Yeah, yeah.
guaranteed to get funding for Y Combinator, right?
Not pretty much. There's a lot of people in Y Combinator.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot.
There
Okay,
can be
take
a
that
lot of
back. I take that back. There's some data on this. So I'll ask my Y Combinator buddies. I would say there's a decent amount that are not able to raise a proper venture round. Maybe they raise some friends and family because they got the Y Combinator logo, but a proper venture, from a venture capital, there's actually, I'll look at the data. I'll ask my friends. I'll be a good one because they have all
I'd be
that data.
surprised if it's more than 20% don't get raise money from Y Combinator.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that data, so I shouldn't comment. So take that all back. When I say a lot, I meant, yeah, I would say like 20-30% doesn't is when I think a lot, which is a
Yeah.
lot. Most people think it's like 100%.
Mhm.
But I got, again, I shouldn't, yeah, I should have, I don't know. That was kind of my
Your first
guess,
instinct, yeah.
but not,
But they said
but I need to validate
yeah.
that through
But there's a
data.
lot of dry powder out there, all that kind of stuff,
There's a lot of dry
supposedly.
powder out there. I think what the reason why people are very scared right now is the moats that these large AI companies are building. So they're like, we don't know if you have room to be able to get venture back returns. Like people are right now very wary because OpenAI is basically putting a lot of startups out of business.
Mhm.
So people are being gun shy, right, in investing because they put 5 million bucks in and then all of a sudden OpenAI releases some feature and they're fucking dead,
Yeah.
right? So um that's a concern. I mean, that's where like the only advice I give to founders is don't say you got to show some traction or pipeline because at the end of the day, the whole business is based on like, you know, discounted cash flow of future payments. So, you want to show as much traction to get above the noise. Because if you have no traction, then, unless you have like a superstar team, right? That, you need you need three teams, right? You need two out of three. One is you need a rock star team, right? For me, it's like, you can make $500,000 work at Megatech, but you decided to work for nothing or 80 grand doing the startup. And you got, the right pedigree, whatever. Uh, Two is traction, right? You have some level of traction. and three is social proof, right? Social proof is like you have these amazing angel investors like Jeff Bezos or whatever, you have a advisor that is also investing who's like a former CFO of Microsoft. It's social proof,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you
Yes.
want at least two out of the three, right?
Okay.
So for me, as in a company that is doing AI deals that want venture returns, like there's a lot of companies out there that can make a shitload of money doing 10, 20, $30 million business. But for me, it's like I need a 1B plus outcome. So it's a different game that I'm playing. Like I'm not a SBA. I'm not like I'm a venture scale angel investor right now. I may do private equity and growth funds later on where I'm looking at different, multiples. But currently an angel investor, and then when I talk with other investors, like when like I'm working on a deal now where, you know, they need, at least if they can't be a 1 billion or 10 billion business, I have to pass. It just doesn't, math doesn't pencil
Yeah.
out. So that's where it's very niche where we like to invest. You
Ken,
know what I mean?
do you have any mentors right now? Who are your mentors?
I mean, my mentors are the books and the podcasts. I had a mentor when I was young in college who really influenced my life in a big way. He was he called my bullshit out. He even said I like to talk a lot of bullshit, and my data analytics skills are very poor. So it put me on the quest to acquire as much knowledge and wisdom to sort of outgrow that
And are you mentoring
concern.
anyone?
Not really. I mean, I like to advise. You know, I was texting Connor like what he should do on with this situation.
I mean, I would call that mentorship.
Advising.
Was there really a difference between mentorship and advising?
Yeah, mentorship just seems a little.
Like more personal?
Yeah, I mean, I've had it. Can you mentor him? It's like I don't like that. Like I think it has to
Yeah.
start
I think you mentor more
more.
people than you think you are. Maybe they haven't said,
No,
hey,
not
Ken,
really.
be my
I'm pretty
mentor.
busy. I mean, I would like to if it's the right. I mean, I think yeah, I would love to give back someday, right? There much knowledge that I can learn that's helped me, right? So like one of it is like don't drink too much, right? Like when you're young, you don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them is even they're young, like they won't hear it until they're ready. Like I wasn't ready till my 40s, right? Like I knew I was going out way too much, but I justify it that, I was having a phenomenal time. I was in sales and I took out clients and was closing deals and this is what we do. This is like I party for a living, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I justified it. Going to trade shows, events, going to happy hours and parties all night. I mean, that was like, 2 decades plus of
Yeah.
work. But now I go to events and I just drink NA beer
Okay.
right now.
Yeah. So I kind of asked this question before, but I'll reframe, right? Like as a founders need all these skills, right? They have to do sales, product, all this one-on-one. What's the one skill like, okay, this founder isn't well, of course for you, they have to be technical, but suppose the founder's not really a personal person, or maybe don't not good on social media, maybe the second sales. What's the one skill you're like, okay, you don't need to have that.
That they don't need to have.
Yeah. Like maybe they have it, but not as good as they should. Like maybe they're not a master salesman, right? Or maybe they're not a master of this.
Yeah,
What's the
again,
one skill you're like, okay, I can overlook this?
yeah. I mean, again, it depends on what they're building, though,
Mhm.
right? Like if they're building a B2B SaaS where it's they're selling to this persona, which is like a chief marketing, they got to be able to have people skill sales people. But if they're building like a deep tech AI selling to data scientists and AI engineers, so the technology will speak for itself. So it depends on what they're building. So at the end of the day, right, the CEO founder is responsible for a lot of it's sales. They got to sell the investor. They have to sell future employees to leave their work to take a chance on them. They have to sell their customers. So sales is extremely important. That's another one that I've been looking for is just that. But again, it depends on the what they're building, right? If it's like deep tech and this guy's effing brilliant and he's built this really incredible like model or with this proprietary data set, like I don't care if he's like autistic and has zero skills, right? Then he can hire for that because the hard part is building that
Yeah.
that technology. So it just depends.
Okay.
You know, but one of the things that hopefully that is a deal breaker would be like just integrity, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody that lies or that's hard because like man, if you have somebody that has low integrity, then you know it's not going to be good. I mean, there might be instances where but
How
yeah,
about
truth
coach?
matters.
How about coachability?
Yeah, coachability is very important, but again, I think good founders like they don't even need that much coaching. Like I was talking to one of my best friends was telling me that the best founders in the portfolio are just basically you hand them a check and they're just fucking disappear, and they don't want coaching. The most problem child the ones like, oh, can you help me out? Can you like coaching? And they wanted so much coaching, and usually those are the ones that are not making it. So like, and there's a really good one on Bessemer founder was saying this, like, your investor only has like such a little time, and you're asking them to like, I mean, you're gonna go for advice, but if you can't, it's like the best founder they say is like they literally like just give you updates like, hey, we're killing it, we're rating the product market fit, we might need some help from recruiting, can you help here, can you make an intro to this customer, like those are stuff. But the ones that are like need coaching on strategy, all that stuff, you know, um, those are the ones that usually won't find product market fit and scale to a very outsized. But again, that's some of the stuff I've seen. I heard like the best performing portfolio of my batch, they're silent.
Okay.
Yeah, they're probably silent. In fact, the number one company in my portfolio from a multiple perspective, was so silent that they didn't even want to even share everything working out because they want to keep it extremely like, private. They didn't want to leak out to people. So,
Okay.
but coachability, of course, is important, right? I mean, that's like, you
So Ken, is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't asked you yet, or anything else you want to talk about?
I think we talked about, yeah, my love for neuroscience and AI. I think health is super important. I think that's one thing I realize now that I'm optimizing for is like, but I think we covered a lot. So yeah, that was fun.
Nice. Hey, can you share your social media links or any way for people to reach out to you?
I mean, I'm just LinkedIn. You can look at me at Ken Morimoto. I'm like the only Ken Morimoto.
Nice.
So
Hey, Ken, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate you. Do some great things.
awesome. You as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. And remember to be great every day.